Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Happy Monday!
Hey!
Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Anthony, you're in the picture.
Sorry. In the picture. I don't know what happened.
Bull had some IFB problems, earpiece problems, right, or something?
My earpiece. I had to. These earpieces, as you know, more experience in TV than anybody, can be a little sensitive.
Jason found that out Friday.
Yeah,
I find that out every week.
Well, mine had broken off, and then my wife super glued it
I'm on my
6 months ago, and it was great until just the last couple of days.
Oh, okay.
I'm on my second or third super glue.
Yeah, I got to do it again. So.
Yeah, it's a problem. I've been using this company for forever. They're the one that provides the IFBs for TV. And the last 2 to 3 years, they've changed something in their process, and they need to change it back because everybody I know.
It's like when Coke went to New Coke. That was no good. You had to go back to regular Coke.
Do you remember that debacle?
Oh, it was a disaster.
I was in college.
Yeah.
And that's when you live on Coke.
Why would you? What was the?
That's what I said. Why would you mess with perfection? They quickly changed back.
Yeah.
Most people in our audience have no idea that happened.
Before we continue, though, just a reminder, today's show is brought to us by Epicor. From small business with big dreams to growing enterprise with global visions, Epicor will equip you with the right tools to move forward. Discover your success. It's easier with Epicor.com.
That big TV there, could we wire that in so Bull can see himself in
4K.
high definition?
We have
4K?
to bring that back. It's our TV for the office.
I know. It was so nice. We had it here for the draft.
Yeah, well, if it's going to sit there, we should use it.
Well,
That's true.
we need it back in the office. We just.
Oh, you do?
Well, we like to watch TV.
I don't know if need is the right word.
Yeah, need's not properly the right word, but
Yeah.
we would like to bring that back up at some point.
Is everybody over the Cavs loss, game 1?
I don't know, but I got called in from the bullpen today. I was supposed to be off today, and G. Bush got sick, so
He's got Cavitis.
Mike called for the lefty, and here I am.
Man.
Yeah.
There's a fog over Cleveland this morning, quite literally.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I know.
I couldn't even see the stadium till I was, right there.
Heavy fall.
Coming over the
Whoa,
internet,
yeah, look at that. You don't even know, that could be
You
anywhere.
are looking live.
It's
at
something.
Yeah.
I have no idea
That
what.
fog.
Yeah, wow, guys.
Yeah.
Wow. You have said for 2 years, regular season means nothing to me. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's dead to me.
Yeah.
It's like in one 48-minute session, all of their hard work goes up in smoke. They now have, they no longer have home court for the Eastern Conference semifinals.
That's right. But despite that, I'm not panicked today. Obviously, no, because I look at it this way. First of all, these series can change in a hurry.
They
The
can.
Lakers, I believe, won the first game of their series against Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they? Am I correct, Mike? Or did they win the
Well,
second?
to that point,
and
I
then
looked
got
this up this
smoked
morning.
the rest of the series.
Only 6 times in the history of the NBA, and one of them just happened Saturday, when the Nuggets came back to win their series. Only 6 times in the history of the NBA playoffs has a team lost the first 2 games of the series at home and gone on to win the series. The only reason I bring that up is I'm not panicked yet.
Yeah.
But I'll panic if they lose tomorrow night.
Absolutely. If they lose
That's
tomorrow
panic
night,
time.
then there's legit reason to be concerned.
Yes.
I just can't be overly concerned after one game because I look at it this way. Despite the insanity from some people that the Cavs were better off without Darius Garland, that was crazy. And not that that necessarily was the only thing yesterday. Of course it wasn't because their defense was not very good.
Right.
He wouldn't have helped on that side of the ball. But the Pacers, in my opinion, played essentially a perfect game.
Yes.
Who did not play well for the Pacers yesterday?
I mean, everybody did. They shot the ball at a ridiculous pace.
So they played an A++ game.
They did.
The Cavs, without Garland,
What, they shoot 22%?
were terrible.
From the three-point
It was
line?
their second lowest three-point percentage
Yeah.
of the
You
season.
live by it and you die
And the
by it.
game was
And
still in doubt
last
with
night,
3 minutes to go.
They
So
died by it.
if the Cavs play to their capabilities, they're going to win the series. If they don't, they're not. But I'm not panicked at all.
That's an appetizer to the Cavs. We're going to get fully into the Cavs in a second. But first, Mike, we want to dive into something else.
Oh, we just want to touch on it real quick. If you guys missed it, Devin Bush was arrested in Pennsylvania over the weekend. He's 4th on the team in tackles last year. It doesn't seem like it was. Well, I don't want to.
What's it called? Simple assault?
Simple assault. I don't want to undermine any
Never
arrest.
heard of simple assault.
Shouldn't have been doing what he was doing.
It sounds like it would be the least serious of all assaults, doesn't it?
I don't know.
Never
I don't know
heard
what
of
that means.
simple
Yeah, it's
assault.
a misdemeanor.
Misdemeanor?
Was it another guy that he was involved with?
There's really no details.
We don't know if
I've
it was
seen.
domestic.
I mean, if he got into a fight with another guy, who cares? But if it's the woman,
That's not
It's a
good.
different story.
Yeah, the league doesn't
Yeah.
look that very well at all. Yeah.
Also-
We'll find out.
Yeah,
either
well,
way.
as soon as we get more details, we'll kind of dive more into it. Just
Also, as long as we're just
acknowledge
dropping
it.
like little news nuggets, Michigan coach gets a 2-game suspension. Is that
And he got
official?
to pick his 2 games, too,
Joke.
which is crazy.
Total joke.
That is crazy.
Total joke.
He's suspended for weeks 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Why? Because
like Central Michigan and Nebraska or Eastern
Well, the reason he went to Oklahoma, Michigan plays Oklahoma week 2.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're gonna let him coach against his alma mater.
Joke.
that's
Joke.
so stupid.
Yeah, so
Absolute
stupid.
joke.
And last but not least, before we dive into the Cavs,
And that was for the Connor Stallion stuff, by the
Yes.
way. All the
Yes.
spot, all that stuff.
And last thing before we dive into the Cavs and all the other stuff today, we had Joe on last week, my best friend Joe Thomas. He said he's
Right.
going to send me some swag. I am rocking the Joe Thomas Hall of Fame beef swag today.
I didn't even notice.
So shout out to
wow.
Joe for the shirt. He sent me a package with
Man,
some
he
jerky.
didn't waste any time. We had him on, was it Friday?
No, Monday.
Monday, okay.
So less than a week
Wow.
later, I got a care package from Joe Thomas. It
Isn't
was
that
labeled McNuggets, which made it very difficult to find in the package room because it was not under the proper name. Thank God McNuggets starts with M, just like my name. And I had some beef jerky, was delicious. So when I cook
Did
up
you
the
save any
sausages,
for us?
he sends,
No.
yeah, he sent some sausages. I'm going to bring them in.
All right.
For you guys. But shout out to Joe.
That's great.
He delivered on his promise, and I'm doing my best to fill out this Hall of Fame beef shirt.
That's
If I
awesome.
keep eating
What
those
did he
sausages.
send you? A medium? What size?
Listen, this is tight. It's a small. This is real tight.
Small?
It's real tight.
You wear a small?
No, I don't. That's why it's real tight.
Oh my
It
goodness.
doesn't
I
look
have
tight.
it.
Like
What
when
is-
I wear a shirt
Well,
that's
Jason-
tight, you can tell it's tight.
Yeah.
Hold on. Can we pull back the curtain for one
like
sec?
sausage.
Can we pull back the curtain for one sec?
Sure.
I had food poisoning yesterday.
You did?
Yeah.
Where did
I-
you get it? Do you know?
No
Don't
idea.
say it.
But
Oh, no, it's a public service.
no.
When
The
you
only
definitively
reason
know.
Yeah, I guess.
the only reason this shirt even remotely fits is
Did
I
you
lost
lost-
9 pounds yesterday.
You did not.
Swear to God, I lost 9 pounds.
McNuggets, you don't have 9 pounds to lose.
I was texting Jason yesterday. From 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. was the worst 6 hours of my life. I thought I was going to die.
Man, I've been
I
there.
couldn't
too.
stop. It came out one way, then it came out another, and then it came out. It was the worst. I don't have 9 pounds. This morning
No.
is the lightest I've ever been in my entire life. Seriously.
Since 4th grade.
Well, but you get what I'm saying, like as an
Hey,
adult.
and
so
you
the
have
only
no
reason this-
idea, literally, like what it was.
I have no clue. No
Not
clue.
even maybe a guess. Don't say it. But
I mean, so I moved into a new apartment this weekend.
yeah,
On Saturday, I went to bed Saturday feeling perfectly fine.
yeah.
I had the same breakfast I have every morning. I had pretzels, and we ate at a restaurant I've eaten at 20 times before, and never had any issues. So somewhere in there, I don't know what just didn't sit right.
Was it a sourdough pretzel?
No, they were dots, like the delicious dots
Oh,
pretzels.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Like you know what I'm saying, like the
Yeah, no,
delicious.
I know what you mean
So
now.
the only reason this shirt even remotely fits is this is literally the lightest and smallest I've ever been in 10 years. If I put on 5 pounds today and try to put this back on, it will be skin tight like it was painted on me. So shout out to Joe. This may be a one and done shirt,
That's funny.
but I'll find a place to hang it up in my new apartment. So
All
shout
right.
out to Joe. We appreciate
Well,
you guys.
Are you feeling better now?
I do feel a lot better
I
now.
hope so.
Luckily,
Good.
those things kind of run their course, and
Yep.
then you start to recover. But
Yeah.
I did not go to the Cavs game last night because I was afraid that, God forbid, I had a moment of
You don't miss many
Weakness.
Cavs games.
no, especially playoff games. But
That would not be a fun place to be.
no,
if
that,
you're,
exactly. So I watched from the comfort.
So you
of
christened the
my
new
home.
apartment.
Yeah.
I got
And you know what?
I got
The-
secret bathrooms in the queue if you ever need a rocket or whatever they call it now.
Oh.
If you ever have an emergency like that, you let me know.
We'll be in touch. But that's enough disgusting talk from yesterday. Let's talk about the Cavs, which in some cases you could call it a disgusting performance. But we're going to talk about them after a new, updated read from the number one sportsbook in America. That is FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. Every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easier to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play small and win big. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com/UCSS and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, You get $200 in bonus bets. You can make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So, Jason, in last night's Game 1 loss, did Indiana expose anything about the Cavaliers, or is it simply just a bad shooting night for Cleveland and a hell of a shooting night for the Pacers?
Yeah, I think a couple things can be true. One, it's that. Bull talked about earlier. They shot 54% from three. I'm going to take my chances that they're not going to shoot 54% from three by the end of the series. And the Cavs had a terrible shooting night. It's not so much this series that's a concern to me as much as the Darius factor is the bigger concern, and what kind of shape is he going to be in. You have to have an effective Darius Garland. This is the team trying to win a championship. You're not going to do that without effective Darius. I won't even say healthy because he's not going to be healthy. The question is, how can he play on this toe, and what are you going to get out of him? I think, it's time to go now. If there's any way at all for him to go, he's got to go in Game 2. It was a different feel to the game without him out there, and the talk last week that we said at the time was ludicrous that they're a better team without Darius is just stupid, and I think a lot of that was sort of exposed last night. Ty Jerome, for all the things that he is, and we've just raved all year long about what an incredible season he's had and what a huge piece of the team, and that's all still true. The one thing he's not is fast.
Yep.
And that foot speed, that lack of foot speed, I think was exposed at times last night where Darius can get to spots that Ty cannot. And Ty's usage rate was well over 30%. That's way too high. Donovan's was over 40%. Donovan's was, I think, like 41. 20 shots is too much for Ty. Evan Mobley took 13 shots last night. The Pacers don't have a counter to Evan Mobley. You can't have Ty taking 20 shots and Evan taking 13. If you do that, you better win the game. And they didn't do that. Cavs scored 70 points in the paint last night and lost. I'm sure it's happened before. I feel like the Nuggets have probably done that quite a few times. But it's very rare to score 70 points in the paint and lose a game. And it's sort of that's how the game's played now. That's the reliance on the three-point line. And also just the fact the Cavs couldn't make a shot from three. So I'm not going to get wrapped up in the fact that they lost the game. We've said all year, I've said for 2 years, the Pacers play fast and they score a ton of points. Well, you saw that. But the Cavs also, the pace, everyone's making a big deal about the pace that the game was played at last night, and it was. The Cavs played 47 games this year at a higher pace than last night, and they went 40-7. So let's not act like they're not accustomed to playing this fast. They are, and they can play faster than this. But Darius is a big piece of that. So I'm really sort of concerned with the Darius thing, with the toe. Can he play in Game 2? What kind of condition he's going to be in? What are you going to get out of him? And that's something that looms over the rest of this postseason. It's not just the Pacers series. It's what comes after that. If they advance beyond that, it's Boston. You need Darius for Boston too, obviously. So and it's not just like, Evan had the ankle. DeAndre Hunter had the finger. So we've said it before, when the Cavs won the championship, it was a war of attrition. And you've got to stay healthy. And a lot of that is luck. And they just didn't have a lot of luck last night. And now we'll see what the fallout of that is for the rest of the series.
I don't know that this is true, but it's just my theory. Last night, rust outworked rest. How else can you explain it? They were getting good shots. It's not like they were taking poor shots. I mean, not all of their shots were good, and some of them were head-scratchingly bad. But they had enough open looks to shoot better than 9 of 30. I think that's what they were. Was that what the final numbers were? They 9 of 30?
It was 24%. I don't remember what the exact
I think it was 9 of 30. I just feel like there's some things you cannot simulate. Bull, in baseball, when a team wins a series early and then they come back after 5 or 6 days and the other team was just played a Game 7 and they're hot and they're loose and they're ready. Sometimes it doesn't always extend through the whole game, but oftentimes the first 2 times through the lineup, those guys, they haven't seen live pitching in 5 days. And in this case, the Cavs hadn't seen a pace like this. You can't simulate a pace like this. And I just think it was one of those nights that you chalk it up to rust got them. They will not shoot the ball that poorly from 3 the rest of the series. If they do, they'll lose the series. I don't think they'll shoot the ball that poorly again. I feel like UJ, the Pacers are not going to shoot 50% for the series. I don't know that they'll do it again for one single game. They hit everything last night. But I said on Friday when we made our picks, this team scares me. I think I picked Cavs in 6. I'll stick with that. But I won't stick with that if they lose game 2, because if they lose game 2, I think they're losing the series.
Well, what was really impressive about from Indiana is they did it on the road. If a team shoots like that, a lot of times they're going to shoot like that at home.
In an insane environment.
Yeah, so to come in here and do that was, give credit to the Pacers. They played terrific. That's probably about as good of a basketball game as they can play for 48 minutes. And it was good enough to get the win. The Cavs offense, I didn't think they created a lot of good looks. It felt like a lot of iso ball. It felt like a lot of one-on-one. It was Ty trying to create. It was Donovan trying to create, and there just wasn't a lot of ball movement. Kenny said afterwards he didn't love the quality of the looks that they got. He thought it was very average. There just wasn't a lot of that drive, kick, swing component that they've built their season on.
Indianapolis,
and again, it goes
Indiana
back to Darius. Well, yeah, and I thought the Cavs did a terrible job of guarding the three-point line. I thought they did a terrible job of closing out. Kenny seemed more aggravated with some of the offensive stuff than some of the defensive stuff. I thought it was kind of both ends. But it just wasn't. And again, I think a lot of it was no Darius out there. Darius can create for others, and the way that he can get to the paint. Mike and I talked about it on the Cavs podcast we did a couple weeks ago. The Cavs can get to the paint whenever they want, when they're healthy, when they're whole, when they're playing the right way. And when they get to the paint, it initiates everything. It starts everything. Sure. You can finish at the rim. You can kick to the corner. You can kick and swing. And that piece really felt like it was missing last night. They really struggled to generate good looks, I think, because it just felt like it devolved into a lot of iso ball.
Yeah. A lot of things to unpack from what you guys said. First of all, in terms of the rust part of this, I appreciated Kenny Atkinson's honesty at the end of the game where he goes, after a game like this, you second-guess yourself. Should I have practiced more? Should I have done this? I like the fact that he didn't make it seem like, I have all the answers.
He's always like that.
I like that, and I respect that. I love that at the end of the third quarter in his in-game interview, he's like, how much fun is this? This is great. I love that. It's interesting because I never thought the Cavs were going to lose until the last 3 or 4 minutes.
Really?
Even when they were down 12, I was like, they're going to come back. And then they made that run. They were down 12. Then they were down 10, and Sam Merrill hit that 3 with about 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. And that's when they started that big run.
They were down 80-68, I think.
Right, and then they took the lead, and then, what's his name, hit the 3 at the buzzer for the Pacers.
Miles Turner.
Yeah. And that gave the Pacers the lead going into the fourth. But I thought what was interesting to me, and I'm very curious to see, Mike and Jason, what you guys think about this specifically because you're so into basketball, is the Cavs clearly couldn't make any threes. They had a couple early, and then they just couldn't knock almost anything down. Outside of that Merrill 3 is like the only one I remember in the second half. I know Max Strus hit one, but in that stretch of time where the one stretch where they played their best basketball from like the 6-minute mark to the 90-second mark of the third quarter and a little bit in the start of the fourth quarter, what they were doing so well in that stretch of time was feeding the post. Jared Allen was involved. He was getting dunks. There was a bunch of – now, I thought that's the only time yes, there was some Ty Jerome to the basket and so a lot of Donovan Mitchell to the basket. But there was also good ball movement down low, I thought, in that stretch. And that's what brought them back, not the threes. And then it felt like in the last 6 minutes, they just went back to shooting threes again, which I get because they've been so good all year. But that wasn't what was working for them last night. So I was surprised they just kind of stopped trying to get the ball down low. And that's when I thought in the last 6 minutes in particular, they took some questionable shots.
Well, they scored 70 in the paint. Like, do you want them to score 80?
Yes.
But that's a ton.
Yes.
That's a ton of points.
I know, but
this is a team.
It was what was working for them.
Indiana
had no answer to it.
I agree. And I felt like they. I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth because Evan took 13 shots. He needs to take more.
Right.
And they need to exploit that size advantage because they do. They don't. Indiana, I don't think has anyone who can guard Evan Mobley one-on-one. Pascal Siakam, Evan will eat him up. But at the same time, they did score 70 in the paint, and this is a team predicated on shooting threes. Shooters, ask Mike, shooters are going to shoot. I remember talking to Dion when he was here. He was like 0 for 8. And I said, you ever think like maybe you shouldn't pull the next one? He looked at me like I insulted his mother. He's like, no, man, the next one's going in.
Yeah,
that's
short
how
memory.
It's
like a cornerback.
I get it. And in most but I'm not saying they shouldn't in game 2, 3, or 4. I just felt like it was going so well for them. After they had played like crap for 2.5 quarters, they make this run getting the ball in the paint.
Jason,
I don't know.
They scored 70 points in the paint. Who do you think led the regular season in points in the paint per game?
Denver.
Correct.
Yeah,
How many points in the paint per game do you think they averaged per game? This was number 1 in the NBA during the regular season.
Probably
50.
in the 60s.
Oh, wow.
58.5.
Yeah, close.
So 11.5 more points in the paint last night for Cleveland.
I don't care. It wasn't enough. They should have kept going. I think.
Point Bull.
Yeah, you do have to. I think, Bull, I agree with you. I do think that, not that you change your DNA overnight. You don't. But it's just like the pitcher who might live off the fastball, but for whatever reason, guys are lighting up his fastball.
And on that one day you
then
play
what do
differently.
you do? Then you just start throwing sliders or off speed or whatever.
Maybe I didn't finish my point correctly. In the fourth quarter, I think Donovan, who had to work incredibly hard to even get the ball. I thought one thing Indiana did really well yesterday was make Donovan work just to get his touches. And Donovan took 30 shots last night. 30 shots in 34 minutes. He was 1 of 11 from 3.
Right.
Ugh.
And he was 2 of 19 from 2.
12 of 19.
12 of 19, sorry. 12 of 19 from 2. 1 of 11 from 3. Ended up with 33 points. I think he just wore down in the fourth quarter.
Did he look? He looked exhausted to me in the third quarter. He looked tired.
Well, he put the Superman cape on in the third quarter.
And that's when, after he did that, and they went on that 17 whatever run, I said, wow, he's gassed. And they did. I thought Kenny was smart to get him out at the end of the third.
But again,
he was tired.
And again, this goes back to no Darius because now.
Right.
Yep.
Go ahead. You say it.
Yeah.
I think we're going to say the same.
It plays into that. Without Darius
he's doing
in the court,
more.
There's such an emphasis on Donovan to create everything. And you look at their starting lineup, and then we can talk about Ty in a sec because we have
No, Tyrese. Tyrese doesn't have to guard anyone.
Exactly. But in the starting lineup, without Darius, you have Merrill, Strus, Mitchell, Allen, and Mobley. Who are you worried of taking you off the dribble and creating that constant pressure
Just
and
Mitchell.
forcing rotations? It's Mitchell and then it's Mobley, but Mobley does it in a different way, attacking bigs. You're not worried about Merrill. You're not worried about Strus. Allen's not a guy. Darius's presence is what allows everything else to kind of fall into place with the core 4. And sure, you could argue and look at the Miami series and say, oh, look at the defensive numbers with how well they played against. Miami just sucked at offense.
We need that toe to heal quickly.
That could be real. Indiana is a different beast than Miami. And Darius, against the full court pressure that Indiana likes to play with, against the half court switching that Indiana likes to use defensively, this is a series where Darius, although he may get picked on defensively, is going to make a night and day difference offensively.
Where was your worry meter at 1 to 10 coming into the series?
I think I was higher on Indiana than anyone else on the show entering the series. Jason almost laughed at me for giving Indiana as much credit as I tried to give
not.
him.
Ultimately, you picked the Cavs in 5, I thought.
I said Cavs in 6.
Okay,
said 5.
I said 6.
I said 5.
Okay,
Cavs
so
in 6.
where were you? Like a 3?
I think Indiana's been playing very well. They played really well down the stretch. I think Cleveland is a better team overall.
No, I know, but where
without
were
Darius,
you on the worry meter?
3.5, 4.
Okay, where are you today?
4.5, 5.
Yeah, see, I am. Mine is elevated. But
it's
not
less of
panic.
It's
but
less
it's
of
up.
last night. It's more of Darius's toe,
Yes,
right?
yes.
DeAndre's finger, Evan's ankle, and Donovan's knee. Like, it's a war of attrition in the playoffs. And the Cavs left last night, 1 game into the second round.
5 games into the playoffs.
With an injury report that does not look great.
No, it doesn't.
That's what worries more than anything else.
If both of these teams are whole, I'll stick with Cavs in 5.
You will?
Oh, yeah.
So if Darius comes back, they sweep from here.
Well, I mean, it's not just it's not Darius coming back. It's what does he have when he is back?
Yeah, right.
So that's what I'm saying. If both teams are healthy and whole,
yeah,
I still think the Cavs would win in 5. Now, because Darius is not going to be Darius even on this toe. I don't think anyone knows.
What's the deal with him?
What does Halliburton have? A back?
It's sprained toe. It's
bad back.
No. I'm sorry. What's the deal with game 2? Like, is he likely to play? Sorry.
I think
he's day to day.
Yeah, they're not going to say. I think he's probably going to play. But I'm just basing that on a couple conversations.
You think they were like, we're going to sit him until we lose?
I think it's probably a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think they probably lost before. Because it's my understanding, it's more of a pain tolerance thing than anything. And I'm not calling them soft or anything like that.
Yeah.
Though, ask anyone who's tried to play through turf toe and sprain. It's awful. It's horrible. And you got to push off. And the way that the Pacers pressure, they were picking guys up full court last night. Like, it's asking a lot. So even if he plays, he can't play his normal lot.
What is the pain management available for that?
I would
shoot it up.
I would imagine you shoot it up.
Yeah. And then the question is, how much does that actually affect his performance? Because sometimes
I've talked to guys
you need that. You need that feeling.
I've talked to guys who've gotten multiple shots and said more for high ankle sprain. I don't know about toe.
Right.
I've talked to guys who've had high ankle sprain, gotten multiple Toradol shots, and said it didn't do anything.
Okay.
It didn't even help.
Dustin was on Wednesday, and he said he played through turf toe. Turf toe and a big a big toe sprain are not exactly the same injuries,
right?
But they're in the same vein. And Dustin said of all the things he's played through in his career, that was by far the most painful.
Yeah, it's not a picnic.
I mean, imagine, you do everything with your big toe.
Every step you take.
Yeah.
Every single step.
So I just think it was wise to set him the 2 Miami games. If they'd won game 1, I'd have sat him in game 2.
Yeah,
right.
But now he's got to play.
Now you need
That's
him.
not the luxury that they're in right now.
now you
So
need
now you got to, and now you have to hope that Evan's ankle isn't serious. DeAndre will probably be okay, I would think. But yeah, I mean, you've got to be healthy to win a championship. Anyone who's won a championship will tell you have got to have health, and that's just a luck of the draw.
Was it Mobley or Allen that had the hard fall after
Allen.
Allen.
Yeah.
But that was scared
rough.
the heck out
And
of me.
Hunter had a tough fall, too.
Hunter did, too. He
admitted to getting his finger popped back into place in the locker room.
Well,
after
he
the
also
game.
got, he didn't fall, but there was that one shot where he took to the shoulder.
Yeah.
He didn't fall in that play, but
It
he
was
took
a
a big
collision,
hit,
right?
Hunter, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very physical game. Teams think they can out-physical the Cavs because the Cavs have not been physical enough in the past. We'll see if they can overcome it.
It's a great basketball game, though. It was fun to
It was
watch.
great.
It was a great game.
I mean, the only downside was the outcome for Cavs fans.
One more thing before we move on. We're going to get back to the Cavs in a little bit, talk more in depth on the update to Darius. But the Pacers got a ton of open looks last night from 3. Like a ton of open looks last night from 3. And I did a little breakdown. You can find it on the UCSS channel this morning. But I'm curious on your guys' thoughts. The way Indiana swings the ball, it's similar to what Cleveland wants to do, right? I said going into the series, I thought Indiana does a lot of the same things as Cleveland, maybe just not to the same level. Last night, obviously, they did it to that level. But Cleveland's tendency to overhelp is what made them so effective against Miami, but it's almost the complete opposite of what I think you need to do against Indiana. Miami doesn't have the shooters or the creators off the dribble to where you can overhelp if they kick to Hayward Highsmith. You're like, thank God, Hayward, take that shot.
Yeah.
Against Indiana, if you overhelp against Halliburton, he's going to pass it to Nembhard or Neesmith.
And they're going to hit him.
And they're either going to hit him or they're going to drive and force you into rotations. And, Steve, you want to take 288 full here. If you just look at some of these threes that Indiana got last night, I thought it was, this one in particular, miscommunication. Strus and Okoro both go with Jarris Walker and leave Neesmith wide open. That's just an unacceptable defensive miscommunication. They made 19 threes last night. They only made 19 threes in the regular season 5 times all year. One of their best shooting performances of the entire season. This one, Hunter comes up to help, leaves Matherin in the corner, decent closeout. But Jason, I know you said Kenny wasn't as concerned defensively as he was with the offense, but as you let this play through here, Steve, just let it play through. Some of these just way too open threes to allow.
That was my point. Yeah, I didn't like the way that it just felt like they didn't run guys off the line. It felt like they didn't close out. They gave them a lot of those looks, and credit to the Pacers, man, to do that on the road in a game 1 when you're talking not star players but role players in a lot of instances. Yeah. That's hard to do.
Right now, it feels like the Pacers are the deeper team, because especially without Darius.
Well, Mike,
do you trust Dean Wade or Okoro?
No.
Those guys combined for 30 minutes, they had 0 points and 4 rebounds.
I mean, Dean has been a 0 in the playoffs.
He's a total 0.
And it's really disappointing because I've really championed him the last couple of years, and I said it this year. I thought their best lineup was with him as the 3 during the regular season. Yeah. If you look at across his career postseason numbers are dreadful. Yeah. And he was a 0 yesterday. And again, it goes back to when you lose Darius, everyone else slides up a spot.
Yeah.
You're really counting on Sam for big-time production, putting him in the starting lineup. But, Okoro's on the court for fourth quarter minutes. They're never going to guard Isaac Okoro. They want him to shoot as many corner threes as he wants to take. And so
what is the point of playing him?
Well, you have it. If you're playing a 10-man rotation, you lose Darius, you're down to 9.
Okay.
Sam starting, you got to have somebody out there.
Are there better options?
I would not play him in the fourth quarter.
Are there better options on their bench?
No.
Like, should we give other guys a chance or no?
Their bench.
No. Were you going to play Craig Porter?
No. Can he
be
any worse?
I don't think Okoro should be out there in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
Usually, if you're trying to hide a guy in a rotation spot, it's second quarter.
Right, yeah.
End of the first quarter, into the second, there's like a 5-6 minute stretch where you can sort of hide a guy where he's not going to kill you. I don't think Okoro should be in the game in the fourth quarter.
And what about Dean Wade? Like, who could you play Tyson?
Now you're counting on a rookie.
I hear you, but it's not that many minutes.
You signed Javonte Green, who plays a similar role. He's a vet.
I'm just asking. I'm not saying a big panic moves after one game.
I think that's your best out. If you're not going to play Okoro,
yeah,
you give Javonte Green those minutes and see how
give
he
somebody
fares.
else a shot. I mean, Wade and Okoro have done nothing the entire postseason, and they have no track record of doing anything in the postseason.
The issue with Wade, they don't have another backup big. He's the only size. I mean,
that is the issue.
He's the only size you have.
DeAndre's your backup big. Really?
Yeah, but you're at a disadvantage there.
Well, yeah, but
I know you're looking for options, and he's a body that can do it if he absolutely has to. But
that's your backup.
But he's scared. I mean, he looks like he's scared when he's on the court.
DeAndre?
No. Dean Wade.
Oh, I said Dean's been a zero.
Yeah.
Throughout his go back to 2 years ago, and he was coming off the injury 2 years ago. Last year, I can't remember. I think he was hurt. I don't remember. But I think he's made 4 shots in the playoffs in his career.
Oh my God!
In his career, he's 6 of 21 in the playoffs.
6. Okay, I shorted him too. Sorry.
Well, that's what 31%, 30%,
28%.
All right, that's not good.
So yeah, I mean, we talked all year about the depth on this team, but when you take out one key piece at the top, it really sort of there's a massive trickle down effect.
It is interesting because we've thought all year that's among their strengths.
Right.
Was their depth.
Yeah,
and last night I'm watching it going, this is what we're left with. This is what we have right now.
But Mike and I said, you shouldn't play. I don't think this team should play 10 in the playoffs. But again, without Darius, it sort of ruffles things. If Darius is healthy, if they're whole and healthy, I think you have your starting 5, Ty, DeAndre, and Merrill is your 8. Merrill's your 8th.
Yeah.
And that's for me.
And that should be enough.
And you roll with those 8.
Should be enough.
And if you have a little pocket in the second quarter where you need to give a guy a blow or whatever,
I'm just saying, for those couple of minutes, why not give somebody else a chance when the two guys who are playing those roles are doing absolutely nothing?
Yeah. I think, Bull, that's a great point. I'm
not saying they're going to be any better. They may suck too, but why not give it a shot?
Yeah, you can figure it out. Playoffs are different, man. Some guys rise to it. Some guys shrink because of it. And, I hate to say it, nice guy, root for him, but Dean Wade is shrinking in the moment.
Yeah,
and it's hurting the team for sure.
What did he play last night, Mike? 13 minutes or 16? Who is he like?
Dean Wade had 16 minutes, was 0 for 2 from the floor, 0 for 1 from 3. He did have 3 rebounds and was a -1 ± in those 16 minutes.
Defensively, Mike, to me, it seemed like the burned image in my mind is him closing out on threes. And sometimes it just looked like it was a going through the motion closeout. Is that because he's too far out of position to begin with?
I'd have to go back and look at each one individually. There's a couple of them we just showed you, that clip.
Right.
Where it's actually a good closeout. You don't want to jump.
One of his closeouts that you showed was really good.
Yeah, you don't want to go flying.
But some of the other ones look like they were just gratuitous.
Like Strus on that final basket of the third quarter.
Well, that one's tough because with the clock running down and 2 seconds left, that's a center. Like, how many times are you expecting a center to pump fake, take a sidestep, and shoot it?
Yeah.
That's not a good closeout in the big picture with 2 seconds left. It's a little tougher. I don't know how many we'll see in this clip. I just put all the threes back to back to back to back they made. But there's one closeout from Wade here. It's the next clip. I know it's coming, which is a good closeout. Chops his feet, gets a hand up. You don't let the drive. This is the play where Dean actually makes
this one I thought was
closeout.
A good closeout.
No, this is a good closeout from Dean here. Chops his feet, hand up. Like, that's a
he
good
got
closeout.
into his face.
I mean, if that's the highlight of his game in 16 minutes,
that's probably not a good thing. But look at this.
Congratulations, Dean. You're an NBA basketball
That's
player
on Donovan, by the way.
Stood in front of
that
somebody.
plays on Donovan. I have a whole breakdown of 4 of these on our YouTube page if you want to go
How
through.
long is that breakdown?
It's like 7 minutes.
I think it would have been worth showing it here.
And we'll play at the end of the show. We'll
We're
talking more Darius. We could do that.
Because I love your breakdowns, and I think our viewers would get something out of it.
All right, well, let's talk a little guards, and when we come back, we'll add that at the end of the Darius clip. But we could do that.
Can I just, one last thing, Mike?
Yeah, of course.
It's a quick statement. Obi Toppin is making progress in my players I want to punch in the face list.
Why?
I don't like him. He rubs me the wrong. First of all, and he's not the only one. There's a thing in the NBA. I don't know how long they've been doing this, for a year or two, whatever. That every time they hit a 3, that everybody's got to do this, as if a 3 is some big accomplishment in the NBA. That's all guys do is chuck 3s all day long, and I hate this. And the way he did it makes it look like a gun. He should have gotten a technical foul for that. They did
Why, is
that
he
in
going
college
like this, like
basketball.
it's a double barrel gun?
Yeah, I don't know what he was doing, but he's so he's like shushing the crowd. Shut up! You're a bench player on a diet vanilla team.
But those are the guys you want on your team. But
Oh, yeah,
those
love
are
him on
also
the
the
Cavs.
guys you want to punch
Love him,
in
but
the
I want to
face.
punch him in the
Hey,
face.
you come in and you shoot like that, and you play like that, do whatever you
Yeah,
want.
I know.
You earned it.
To the victor goes the spoils.
You earned it.
Screw you, man.
All right, we'll get back to the Cavs in a little bit. We're going to talk
Progress.
more of the Darius injury. We'll play the breakdown and all that. But
Yeah.
let's pivot, talk a little Guardians, guys. Our Guardian segment today brought to us by Buckeye State Credit Union. If you're unfamiliar with them, let me introduce you to the financial friend you didn't know you needed until right now. Buckeye State Credit Union is a local brand offering a wide range of products from checking accounts to home equity lines of credit and auto loans. They have some of the lowest rates around that are committed to serving Northeast Ohio. The Cleveland location is in Shaker Heights, but they have 5 brick and mortar locations across the state. Buckeye State Credit Union is here to help make your life easier. They make banking more convenient, always putting the customer first, so you leave feeling cared for, valued, and respected. Connect, simplify, and adapt. Those are the core values that make Buckeye State Credit Union the right choice for you. For more information, head to buckeyecu.org. Buckeye State Credit Union, your money simplified. So last week, Jason said Daniel Schneemann stunk. And now he
I
comes
said
out and
it.
hits a... I said Jason.
No, I said it.
Oh, both said it. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, maybe
Both
Jake said it
Schneemann was
also.
and then he goes out and hits a grand slam.
He didn't stink Saturday.
And earlier in the week, I said Bo Naylor stunk, and he got hit home runs 2 days in a row. Hopefully, it'll work for Rocchio, because I said yesterday he stinks.
Oh, Rocky.
He does stink.
His attempt to lay down a bunt yesterday was an absolute embarrassment. And there's no other way to say it. And I was glad during the broadcast, because I was saying the same thing in real time.
Yeah.
Rick Manning was getting into him.
Oh, Rick doesn't pull punches.
No, and Rick was a good bunter. Rick was he was a lefty with speed. He had the art of bunting. He would even, not much, but he could drag bunt if he had to. I'm watching this grown man who's a Major League Baseball player break every single principle of how you lay down a bunt in a big situation. He stabbed at all 3 and fouled all 3 off in a huge spot in the game.
Yeah.
And I just can't understand how these guys can't bunt.
I have never seen a less instinctual shortstop in my life.
What about base runner?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Just in general,
in the field,
in the field,
shortstop,
like
as a base runner,
terrible.
He looks
He's
like a little
awful.
leaguer.
Yeah, he has no baseball instincts. This guy,
guys, I think his future with the Guardians is very limited.
and all of a sudden, Gabriel Arias is, we're back high on him.
Okay, I'll
he had
take
been
him.
in a little bit of a slump, and then he had, I think, 3 hits. 2 hits and 3 hits and 2 ribbies yesterday. So, but
was that not? And they came off a series like that.
By the way,
last 2 series were quintessential guards.
Yes, and by the way, and yesterday they really they've played well now. They've won 5 of 6 since losing that first game against the Twins. I thought they had great at bats yesterday. They worked a lot of counts. The Blue Jays, one of the all-time stupid moves in the bottom of the 8th. They were down 1. They had first and second, nobody out.
Is that the inning where they had 3 walks?
No, they got it.
No. When they were
That was against Gaddis.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So against
Oh,
Gaddis,
yeah, I know where
the
you're
Blue
going
Jays
with
had
this.
first and
I
second,
know where you're
nobody
going
out.
with this, yep.
And they put down a sack bunt, which I
great
hate.
bunt.
It was a great bunt. But I hate that.
Yeah, I know.
Especially because
I know
who's
you
the
do.
next batter?
Yeah, I know.
Miles Straw.
Yeah.
How do you sack bunt for Miles Straw? That
Well,
makes
Miles
no sense.
Straw is not Miles Straw from last year. What's Miles Straw hitting? 300?
I don't know what he's hitting.
What
That
is
guy
Miles
can't
Straw
hit.
hitting?
It's going to.
HGH.
Now,
That's what he's hitting.
I'm careful.
He's hitting
I'm joking.
269,
I'm
one
joking.
home run.
What is he
joking.
hitting?
269, 1 home run, 3 RBIs.
Yeah, and he doesn't
He
play
came
that
into the
much.
series with an over 300
Yeah,
average.
but he doesn't play that much.
No, I
so,
know.
But here's the thing: like you
And
can't
he did what we knew he was going to do.
Yeah.
First pitch swinging pop up.
right? Like if you need a sacrifice fly, that's the last guy I want. And why are the Blue Jays? I don't understand. Anyway, that was stupid. I didn't
I
understand.
agree.
bunting that
Yeah, it was kind
like
of
why
crazy.
not pinch hit for him if you're going to do that?
I like the idea to bunt. I
don't. But if you're going to do it, then pinch hit for Straw.
Well, what was the score at that time?
It was a 1-run game.
Okay, so you get the go ahead run in scoring position.
I
With 1 out.
understand that, but I don't give up outs except certain circumstances. I don't want to give up an out for Miles Straw, who's probably not going to get a hit. So
Yeah.
I
would
don't know.
have
I
pinch
thought
hit
that
for
was
Straw,
stupid, but
1,000%. I don't know what they had available.
Yeah,
but I would
Well,
pinch hit for Miles Straw.
They should have. But the good thing.
He made a nice catch in the series.
Yeah, he's always been a good fielder.
Yeah.
The thing with the Guardians that you got to feel good about, because It's very bizarre. I mean, they have the third best record in the American League. Only Detroit and Seattle have a better record. Yet their run differential is fourth worst in the American League. Now, a lot of that is
they're winning a lot of one-run games.
Those 2 10-run games they got smoked by. But they're only one better than the White Sox in run differential, and yet they're 10 games ahead of the White Sox in the standings.
That's crazy.
But it's been the bullpen, right? Their 4 core guys are been great. Even Clase seems to be back on track. I know he gave up a run yesterday. It was an unearned run because he made the error.
His error. Yeah.
Although that 2-2 pitch should have been strike 3.
What was wrong with that?
I don't know. That home plate umpire had a rough game.
It wasn't even on the line. It was in the box.
Yeah. What I liked about Clase, guys, that I've seen the last couple of times he's been out there, is the ball's not going right down the middle anymore.
Yeah, I know. He's working
the corners better. I think that's been huge. I saw a fascinating sidebar for a second. I saw a fascinating video of this girl softball pitcher. I don't know what college she pitches for. And she was warming up with a stack of bricks in front of the middle of home plate.
Wow.
Montana Fouts from Alabama. It's a few years old.
Is that her? Oh, it's old?
It's a few years old, but yeah, Montana Fouts.
You know her name?
Job.
When I was covering A&M, she was the best pitcher in base.
And this was awesome. Wow. She had a stack of bricks in the middle, and then a stack of bricks
on the outside.
Yeah. So she had to throw it in between,
hitting the alley.
That's what she wore. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So anyway, that was good. But I thought
how often was she hitting the bricks?
In the video I saw, she didn't hit him once.
It was edited.
Oh, it was. Okay.
That's still impressive, though.
But I got the video right here. I'll pull it up.
Okay.
You're wrecking softballs, though. Like, those softballs are probably not very good after you throw them into a brick wall.
Yeah, probably not to get scraped up against the brick.
That's a great drill, though. I
mean, I don't know what Clase did, but he seems to be rounding into form. And right now, Gaddis has been fantastic. Got himself in and out of trouble in that 8th inning. Obviously, we know Kate Smith's been fantastic. And Tim Herron, who a little like Clase, was a little shaky earlier in the season, seems to be back on track. And after Bybee, I always want to say Bieber, left with the cramps.
Yeah. In
cramps,
both
right?
legs,
cramps.
Yeah. That boy needs to drink more Gatorade during his outings.
Eat a banana.
But
eat a banana, drink
4
some
innings,
Gatorade.
Boom. That was the formula last year, and it worked yesterday. And they need that bullpen to carry him right now because the starting pitching's been shaky and the lineup's been shaky.
I'm wondering what you guys think.
Real quick, here's the video.
Oh, go ahead.
You can take it full real quick. But, Bo, this is the one you're referring to, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
it's not bricks on the outside. It's batters. Yeah.
This is from 2019. But
okay.
Premise is the same. Pretty cool.
Those are cinder blocks down the middle, looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's smart.
Really cool.
Keeping it off the middle of the plate.
She won whatever the college pitch of the year was 3 years in a row.
Oh, yeah?
That's the only reason I know who she is.
The softball Cy Young?
Yeah.
I think that's what they call it.
Speaking of which, real quick sidebar off of this. Have you guys seen what Caitlin Clark looks like right now?
No.
She's jacked.
Oh, my God.
She at the weight room?
Oh, yeah.
They were playing Brazil in like a exhibition
Preseason
game, whatever,
game.
yesterday. And they showed her like she was like this, and her arm is huge.
Jeez.
Not huge, like abnormally huge,
right.
but like she looks like she gained 10 pounds of muscle.
Wow.
And she took did you see that 3-point shot she hit, Mike, from almost half court?
That's the same one she hit to break like the college scoring record.
Yeah,
they played it
anyway, I've
in
sidebarred
the
a
Iowa
lot,
gym.
but getting back to the Guardians.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Is the way the Guardians winning, is that sustainable though?
Yeah, that's just what I was going to ask because that was the question.
Is it actually sustainable?
I think it's sustainable for the regular season, but we know they're not going to win that way in the playoffs.
Bingo.
Never.
That's exactly. You have to hit the ball over the fence. And listen, they have more power than they did 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
But I don't think as much as they had last year.
Until you are a consistent team with consistent threats who can hit the ball out of the park, the way the game is built today, it's sort of like the threes in the NBA. I don't think small ball wins in the playoffs. I remember, man, I wish I could find the stat. We had the stat on home runs in the postseason as it relates to winning.
Yeah.
If you don't
it's overwhelming.
Yeah, if you don't hit home runs, you're not going to win.
Yeah. I just can't see how it translates to playoff baseball. On that note, Bull, and I don't know if you watch this kind of stuff. I know you're interested in it, Bull. Have you seen the World Series that Apple produced? I think it might have been by MLB Productions, but it's running on Apple Plus.
No, what do you mean? What do you mean?
So
I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's essentially a movie for every game of last year's World Series.
Oh no, I've not.
And it is among the best sports production I've ever seen.
Really? I haven't even heard of it.
I haven't heard of it.
And because it's on Apple, they have the full surround sound and the Atmos.
And the 4K,
and it's 4K.
Yeah.
And it's all done with first-hand accounts. Like they start by the juxtaposition between Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge.
Right,
you got these two behemoths, and they're what? They're power hitters. And they talk about how the game has transformed itself into this home run showcase in the playoffs. And we don't have that. And,
no.
And we don't have the power we had last year with Naylor out of the lineup. We just don't have the power that we had last year.
Yeah, Manzardo picks up some of it, but if they had Manzardo and Naylor.
Are you at all concerned about Manzardo's swing and miss rate? He had 4 strikeouts.
Yeah, no, only because
his average.
His walk rate is really high.
Walk rate is great.
His average is low, but the game has changed, Jay. You know what the average batting average is now
I'd
in
say
baseball?
it's about 260, maybe less.
So would I like to see him? His on base is 325, which is pretty good considering his batting average.
Well, it's because he
is
walks so
219.
much.
Right, and
God, Saturday it was just one at bat after another, and some of them were bad at bats.
He's a young hitter, and he's gonna but 8 home runs, 20 ribbies, gets on base.
I take that all day.
I like what I've seen. He's gonna strike out, but I don't think it's a huge issue.
The weird thing with Manzardo, I think I mentioned this last week, the week before, when he was coming up, he was a gap-to-gap guy. He was a contact guy, doubles guy, and maybe he can grow into power, maybe he won't, but he was a high-average doubles guy when they acquired him. And now look at him. He's the exact opposite of that.
Isn't that because the shift in the prioritizing home runs and deprioritizing average and contact?
Well, also, and Zach pointed this out on the Guardian show this morning that we did, early in the season they were throwing him a lot of fastballs and throwing him inside more, and then he was hitting home runs, and now they're nibbling outside, and he's got to readjust to that.
Yeah, he's got to lay off the outside pitch.
Yeah, and
it breaks
tough.
out and low. He's chasing it a lot.
Yeah.
And he's got to lay off that.
As you know, baseball is a game about constantly adjusting. The pitchers adjust to the hitters adjust to the pitchers.
Do you know,
it's the constant
if I asked
back and
you
forth.
anecdotally, his splits, and Mike, if you could you look up Manzardo's splits, lefty versus righty?
Yeah.
To me,
I know in the beginning of the season he was better against lefties.
That's why I went there, Bull.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the year, remember, I think the very first series,
right.
I think he hit a game-winning home run off a lefty.
Yeah.
And in that game, he was he almost had the cycle.
Yeah, right.
I think he had the single or the double, the triple, and the homer all off lefties, including the game-winning.
It's night and day this year, Jay.
Okay,
what do you think it is?
So
this is shocking. I'm telling you, in a million years, I would not have guessed this.
So that's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
Anecdotally, to me, lately, it feels like he's down against lefties. But early in the season, I felt like he was pulling a Josh Naylor, and then all of a sudden, he just learned how to hit left-handed pitching.
Are you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
So against righties, 103 plate appearances, 88 at-bats. Very big difference between the at-bats and the plate appearances, lefty-righty.
As you'd expect.
He's hitting 182 against righties,
Oof.
a 341 slugging, and a 623 OPS against righties.
How many of his home runs are
That's awful.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
He has 4 homers and 10 RBIs against both.
So his homers are split.
And RBIs, dead split 4
That's
and
interesting.
10.
But his batting average is
against
way
lefties,
better against lefties.
412, 1.294 slug, 1.816
That's
OPS.
okay. That is off the charts. That's one of the best
That's
splits
crazy.
for lefty-lefty or righty-righty.
His
that I think
OPS is 3 times better against lefties, which is insane.
Go figure.
Never heard of.
Yeah. I mean,
it's early enough
I was
in
going
the
to say,
season,
let's
so.
get more of a sample size. I just looked up what his strikeout rate was. He's 26% on strikeouts, which is about where he was last year. It's high, but there's guys in the 30s.
Well, where's Nolan Jones? What's his strikeout rate right now?
Or Arias, even though he's playing well.
And real quick, Manzardo's walk rate is 13%, which is a career high, which is
that's
really good.
Yeah, I'd take
it's
that.
really good.
That's what's helping.
By the way, guys,
if he can get the strikeout rate down even 21, 22%, and keep that walk rate
can I ask
where
both
it
you guys
is?
a question?
Yeah.
To me, the quandary of this lineup is the 2-hole. I hated Hosey in it, and I don't want him to go back to it. What about Martinez as the 2-hitter? Before you laugh, think about it.
Yeah.
The whole idea here is to get Hosey and to get Manzo batting with guys in scoring position. And the part of the problem is why they've had to eke out these close games is because they're not. I think.
I mean, they don't have a great option. I'd be fine with him hitting second.
I don't want him ninth. And I know he's kind of a second leadoff guy and he helps Quan, but I'm more concerned about the front half of the lineup getting healthy.
Yeah, I mean,
and too many pitchers are just working around the 2-hole hitter for the Guardians.
I don't know that there's a better choice right now. They get, you're not going to put the catcher there. You're not going to put the right fielder there.
Schneemann.
No. As I was watching the game yesterday,
I still don't think he's a starter in the majors.
He's going to do a break job after he's done playing. He's got a break job.
But as I was watching the game yesterday, and I'm thinking, okay, the 2-hitter is our weakness. It's got to. I mean, the bottom of our lineup is atrocious, but that is what it is. But I'm trying to. I want to get the front half of the lineup healthy. Not that I want to give away innings, but you are already. You're giving away. You're weakening the heart of your lineup with your 2-hole right now. I don't know what collectively our number 2 hitter is hitting this year.
Oh my God!
But it is not good. Nolan Jones cannot. This experiment for me.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to completely pull ripcord on him. But right now, where I stand, I don't know what the answer is. This guy walks to the plate and he looks like Paul Bunyan. And then he swings, and I'm like, what is wrong with this guy? I can't give up on him.
He was so good 2 years ago. He's hitting the ball hard, but
his strikeout rate's 33%.
It's terrible.
And can't have that.
And his walk rate's 14%.
Okay, now, so
higher than I thought.
And he's usually in the 2-hole.
I mean, at this point, as sad as it is, either Martinez or Schneemann make the most sense in the 2-hole.
I would be fine with either one of those guys.
I can't believe I'm saying that.
I can't either. That's why I said I'm going to ask those guys tomorrow. And I know they're going to laugh at me, but it's better than what we have.
By the way, for the last month now, Jose's been terrible.
I know he has. He's been awful.
He has. You remember, it was April. The first week of April, he had that game where he had 3 home runs.
He had 4 homers and 13 RBIs after that game, Bull.
Right. He has 1 homer, 2 ribbies, and I believe 4 extra base hits in the last 4 weeks.
Now, part of my theory on that is the guy that's hitting in front of him.
That's part of it, but sure.
I think that's a big part of it.
Right, but he's been, to have 4 extra base hits in a month.
He's not seeing any fastballs. Guys are throwing him, especially early in counts. He's seeing all soft stuff. And he doesn't kill that stuff.
But Jay, he's often had bad number hitters ahead of him.
He has, but he's also had stretches in his career, particularly early in the season, where he's like, what's going on? And then he'll hit 9 homers in a month.
I hear you. I'm just worried he's hurt. He plays through injuries, which I respect. But
that ankle on Friday night,
that looked bad.
I think it was Friday night.
I know you thought it was a knee at first.
I thought he hyperextended the knee
because it was
a reach, and a lot of times I've done that where you overstretch on that last step, and your knee buckles because all your weight is in the wrong spot.
Right. So the lineup. The problem with the lineup is where are you getting other? I mean, they're not going to. Lane Thomas is coming back soon, but he was playing terribly. I think when Lane Thomas comes back, I'd put Lane Thomas in center, move Angel Martinez to second base, Arias to short, and I'd have Rocchio in the minors.
Yeah, Rocchio.
I'm done with that. But
I'm looking at Nolan Jones.
Yeah.
His 23 season, obviously, his great year with the Rockies. He had a 30% strikeout rate then.
No, he's been a high strikeout
13% walk rate.
But you can live with that if he's hitting home runs.
And the splits were fine. It wasn't like he did it all in Colorado.
I mean, I know people are sick of hearing his StatCast numbers, but his StatCast numbers are still excellent.
I know, but eventually it's got to help you win. You got to get hits.
Naylor went through that a couple years ago.
He's had some bad luck.
No. Josh a couple years ago had awful numbers in April.
Yeah.
And I remember, and that was before I was really looking at this stuff that often, and Zach was like, I think he's going to be fine. Like, his metrics are really good. He just doesn't have anything to show for it.
Right.
I'm still holding out hope that Nolan's the same way, but I mean, it's May what?
Well,
4th, 5th?
here's there is help coming. David Fry when? July?
Yeah, but what's he going to be like?
He can only DH.
No, I know. But,
so maybe that's the end of Carlos
Santana. That's a stick in the lineup that they desperately need.
Especially against lefties.
If Lane Thomas, obviously, remember when they first traded for him last year?
Yeah.
He was horrible.
I expect him to play well.
I think he'll play well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you can get Fry healthy, Martinez can continue to hit at this level. My fear with him is he's got big leagueitis where you come up and you're so excited and you have so much adrenaline that you rake. And then, remember Kevin Moss? And then after that, you're just like, whoa, what happened to this guy?
Yeah.
I hope he can maintain it. His at-bats are good. I love his at-bats. His approach at the plate is fantastic. If he can stay at that level, and Schneemann can just be a guy who can every once in a while have heroic moments like he did Saturday, and then you get Lane Thomas to be Lane Thomas, and David Fry gets back healthy, this is a much different team that I think can compete with Detroit.
Yeah,
and Bieber.
And then, well, that's the thing. Here's the deal with the starting rotation. It's been inconsistent, but the truth is, in my opinion, Logan Allen, Ben Lively, and Luis Ortiz, for the most part, they've done their job. This is about Bybee and Williams. They have to pitch much better.
How many times has Williams given up a first pitch home run this year? In my mind,
I don't
done
know,
it 3
but
times.
he
did it again Saturday.
I think it's more Gavin than Bybee. Bybee's been okay the last couple starts.
Yeah, but okay's not good enough, Jason. They need him to pitch like an ace.
But April was not good.
Logan Allen's got a 4.01 ERA. I can't expect better than that. Ben Lively gave you 6 good innings the other day.
The thing with Bybee, we've always said he's got to get deeper in games. And now he's rolling through 5, and now he's got to leave.
Yeah, right, but he wasn't pitching great. Like that strikeout to walk is terrible.
Yeah, his strikeouts have been down.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, right there.
And Gavin Williams, I know he only gave him 2 runs, but 12 base runners in 4 innings.
Gavin is the most disappointing to me.
Oh, my God. His ERA's over 5.
I thought this was the year where he may overtake Tanner at the top of the rotation.
Yeah.
And to this point, it just hasn't.
I wonder what's the deal with him. He's so talented. There's so much talent there.
I almost wonder if it's a lack of focus. I feel like he's opened it 2 or 3 times this year where the first hitter of the game takes him deep, and then in most of those he settles in.
Right,
he has
pitches
one bad
really
inning.
well.
Yeah,
and then he gets up to a high pitch count by the 5th inning. We've got some incredibly inefficient pitchers.
Yeah.
Part of that's baseball.
I know, guys.
That's
are sitting
some of
on
it,
pitches.
sure.
That's true.
That's sure.
That is true.
I wonder if there's sometimes with young pitchers that are that are big strikeout guys. You're worried that they become so enamored with the strikeout that they
forget how to pitch.
Sometimes you got to just pitch to contact and
Yeah.
trust your defense. And I know at times the defense has not been great, but generally the Guardians play good defense. Generally,
They haven't this year.
They haven't as
normally they're
consistently
much
this
better.
year. But I don't know. But it's frustrating the top of the rotation. But even with all these complaints, they've still got the 3rd best record in the American League.
I have
crazy.
made this assessment.
Yeah.
Detroit's for real.
Oh, yeah.
I thought they were for real last year, and I thought they were a real threat to win the division this year. I think Cleveland's going to spend most of this season battling with Detroit.
Well, here's what's happened with Detroit, and Kansas City's not done yet either. They're back on track
Kansas
now.
City still too.
Here's the thing with Detroit. We knew their pitching would be good. It's been it's just been ridiculous.
yes.
Their 2 number 1 picks are playing like number 1 picks.
That's
exactly
the
right.
second thing.
Yeah.
Because their lineup's still not great. It's playing better now, but Torkelson is back to playing like the first pick in the draft.
Yeah.
The guy was sent to the minors last year.
And Casey Mize has been fantastic too.
Job has pitched well. We know what Scooble is.
got a nice staff.
And their bullpen, that was my biggest question mark. I was like, because they pitched so great at the end of last year, I'm like, they can't get that. They've been fantastic
well.
across the board.
Well.
And you don't even know, could anybody name their closer?
Canley.
Tommy Canley, Will Vest, Bo Brisky.
Their closer last year was in the All-Star game, and now he's in the minors.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right, guys, let's talk a little Browns. Our Browns topic today is brought to us by Epicor. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build, and practicing every detail to get the best results. But no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes getting the win easier at Epicor. The All-Stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices, from small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with global visions. We'll equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. Because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most out of every hardworking minute. Easier doesn't cut corners, easier finds the lane. Discover your success at easierwithepicor.com. That is easierwithepicor.com.
We just pulled off the rarely done 50% of a Cleveland show not about the Browns. How about that?
I know.
I don't
Proud
know
of
if
us,
it's good or
guys.
bad, but I
Refreshing.
enjoyed it.
The question with the Browns today
And now it ends.
is, as we look ahead to 2025, we know the main guys on this team, the Miles, the Judys, the quarterbacks. We've talked about them at length. But, Bo, we'll start with you. Who's
Yes.
the most underrated player on the Browns heading into the 2025 season?
We're starting with me. I didn't even know that was a topic. I thought we were talking about the undrafted.
Well, we're
free
going to do
agent.
2 Browns topics, but this was the first one. on
I've
the
got.
All right, Jay,
So
we'll
let,
start
let
with
me
you.
go third so I can think about that.
Yeah,
for a second.
and for the record, G was supposed to come in today. We mentioned it earlier. He
Yeah.
came out sick. So, Bo, you are excused from not being prepared.
Thank you.
Because you were a late caller.
Yeah.
Jay, let's start
Yeah,
with you.
that's true. It's Corey Bojorquez, and it's not even close. It's a joke.
That's sad, but
It's a joke.
maybe true.
A buddy of mine, and we're still very close friends. His name's Scott Turner. He was the punter for Ohio State. Do you remember when Ohio State went to Penn State, the year that Penn State joined the Big Ten, and got rinsed 63-7?
Yeah, vaguely, yeah.
My buddy Scott Turner was the player of the game, the Buckeye player of the game. He was their punter. He had like 13 punts and averaged like 50 yards a punt. Corey Bojorquez is among the best punters in the NFL. He led the NFL in punts last year, and it was he had way more punts than the average NFL team did because the Browns had the worst offense. He also was very, very. Wow, you had that ready to go?
Look at that.
We have all of our season stats still from. Yeah.
Well done.
Make them all.
Well done. I didn't think that you. I almost texted you and said, "Hey, can you build a screen for Bojorquez?"
I got you. Don't worry.
Well done.
Head of the game.
Good producing, Mike. Yeah, I think he's the most underrated Brown. He's among the best punters in the league. He's always way up the list on punts inside the 20. As bad as the Browns were last year, if they had had an average punter, they would have had the number 1 overall pick. I honestly think he made a difference in 2 of their wins by flipping field position, by having big punts. So that's my answer, Corey Bojorquez.
Jason.
I went with Isaiah McGuire only because
It's a good one.
he's a guy that we don't really ever talk about. Obviously plays edge opposite Miles. PFF loves him, and I've had my disputes with PFF in the past.
Well, they're dead to me. You know that.
But the fact that he is known as a good run stopper, he's just a guy that we don't really ever talk about. And plus, this team isn't very good, so it's hard to come up with somebody who's the most underrated.
I'm like been thinking about it for 5 minutes here. I can't think of any. There's nobody in my mind.
I went through position by position,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, I'm missing somebody.
Yeah,
and I went
right.
to kicker, and I'm like, no. And then I said, oh, God, it's our punter.
I think McGuire could have we talked about Alex Wright before getting hurt early in the year.
Yeah.
That is one. I mean, everyone's going to talk about the quarterbacks. That's another camp battle I'm kind of curious to see, only because I thought McGuire did have some good moments last year, and Wright has shown promise in the past. And with the way that this line has been rebuilt the last couple of years now with some of these draft picks alongside Miles, I'm curious to see what kind of production they get out of that spot. So for lack of a ton of great options, give me Isaiah McGuire.
All right. I'll be honest. I don't think there's any great choices, but my answer is going to shock you. I'm going to say Jerome Ford.
Wow.
And here's why.
I am shocked.
He just took a $2 million pay cut.
Not that I think Jerome Ford is very good, but I think Jerome Ford is a decent, and he might end up being the third back. I don't know what it's going to look like when he's considering the talent around him. He's been okay the last 2 years. He's not special. He doesn't do anything amazing, but he's not terrible either. Like, he's an adequate NFL player, and I think we talk about him as if he's a complete zero. And I don't think he's a complete zero.
Well, the problem with Jerome is you never want to be the guy to follow the guy.
Right.
And he has to replace Nick Chubb.
Right.
In the minds and hearts of Cleveland.
But he's not a horrible back.
He's not Nick Chubb.
Right, of course, yeah.
He's not
Which
horrible.
makes him look worse than he probably
Right.
It feels like, and I could be wrong on this, he's got like 4 or 5 great runs in his career.
Yeah.
And the rest is very, 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 very average. And those 4 or 5 runs make the overall numbers look a little bit better than what
I
they
would
really
say
are.
the rest is
Agreed,
below
but
average.
see, I think people talk about him as if he's a zero. Like, not even roster worthy. And I don't see it that way.
I think he's a league average running back.
Which I think he's underrated because I think people think he's worse than that. I'm not saying he's better than league
I
average.
Can you throw a screen up again? I want to study his.
What else do I got,
You want his
Jason? There's
stats?
nobody else who's underrated. I thought about maybe Grant Delpit, but he didn't have a good year this past year.
Now imagine if we did the overrated question. We could go on. We could name 8 guys.
That's a whole different topic for a day where we have not a game one to recap. My answer was
what not pictured
Jerome
there
Ford is going to be
his-
your Jed Wills.
Is his yards per carry.
you want his yards per carry? Jerome Ford this season,
It's pretty high.
5.4 yards per carry.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, that's good. You know, you say take away his biggest runs, but you take any player's biggest
No,
runs.
yeah,
I understand, but
Yeah.
there's like 2 or 3 runs a year
5
that
yards
are like
per carry.
60 or
You're
70
right.
yards.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe even more so than Bojorquez. 5.4 yards per carry?
I mean, he's a serviceable back. Again, I'm not saying he's great. Far from it.
That's what I said about Jed Wills. He's an average left tackle.
I think Jerome Ford's a better running back than Jedrick Wills is a left tackle.
What if Jed's back on this team?
I'm making this a poll right now.
I'm serious.
Well, no one else is
as a backup
breaking their necks to sign him.
Could he play guard? Could he be a swing guy? Tackle and guard?
God, can you imagine from a first-round draft pick?
That tells you how
he play guard.
It tells you how little the league thinks about him.
Yeah.
Because he was a first-round pick 5 years ago.
I know.
And nobody wants him.
Unheard of. You know, one other thing that you might be able to mention is DeJuan Jones. If DeJuan Jones can get on the field and stay on the field and be healthy.
Right. But I think we all feel that way. I think we all think he's good when he's healthy. So I don't think he's underrated.
I think our general thought of him is
he can't
out of shape.
Yes.
And a big letdown from what we saw from him the first year.
Sure.
So I think, like your Ford comparison, we're comparing him to Nick. That's a high bar,
right.
So he looks less pretty.
Yeah.
Same thing with DeJuan. If we compare him to what he gave us his freshman or his rookie season,
yeah,
compared to what our lasting image in our mind is the guy is slow, out of shape, overweight, and wasn't very effective.
Yeah.
So this is a guy that could be a candidate for, not that they ever give it to a tackle, but he could be one of these comeback player of the year guys if he comes back.
Look at this. We're finding guys. We're finding underrated players.
Silver linings all over the place.
I had Jack Conklin as...
We're the Cleveland mediocres.
I had Jack Conklin as my guy just because last year he played.
I
know injury,
again,
but I think we all had this level of, is Jack Conklin that good? We're not sure. He's always hurt. We don't remember.
Yeah.
He actually was arguably their best offensive lineman, and frankly, it wasn't that close last year.
That's a good call, Mike.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was kind of done before last year. We were all pissed, certainly myself included, that they signed him. They gave him a new contract.
Right, yeah.
And he was one of the few guys on the team that was worth their contract.
How were the Cleveland underrateds? Got underrated guys everywhere.
It's unbelievable.
Look at us.
Can we make the case for Njoku being underrated? No, never mind.
Cedric Tillman?
Yeah, no. Let's not.
All right.
Joe Flacco? Joe Flacco?
Underrated.
Yeah. No.
All right. That was good. It was good Browns talk, guys. Real good Browns talk. Let's get back to the Cavs. After a quick word from a new sponsor on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That is Upwork.com, UPWORK.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. We mentioned it a little earlier. We talked about Darius and the toe injury, but the reports out of Game 1 were that if this were a regular season situation, the Cavs would most likely shut down Darius for 2 full weeks, no practice, completely get him off his feet, to help that big toe recover. Jared Greenberg, who was doing sideline last night for TNT, said there was growing concerns over the significance of said toe injury. Jason, you mentioned beforehand you would sit him until they needed him, and the need time maybe right now. But if you were the Cavs, how would you handle the Darius Garland toe situation, knowing the fact that there's a good chance he's not going to be 100% at any point in the postseason now?
Yeah, I think time's up. And he has to try it. You have to test it out. If there's no structural damage, if it's a pain tolerance thing, if he can't go, he can't go. But I think you at least have to put him out there and try. I do think that it was, let's hold this off as long as possible. Wait till lose the game and then reassess. Well, I don't think anyone anticipated losing Game 1. I don't think anyone anticipated the Pacers shooting it as well as they did. And if there's any way for him to go now, he's got to go. And I get the sense that I think he is going to try, and we'll see how effective he is. Because just because a guy's out there doesn't mean he's going to be able to perform at the level that we're accustomed to him seeing. We talked earlier about the way that the Pacers are pressuring full court. Ty had an 8-second violation last night; didn't even get it over the line. And just the way that they're going to need him to guard on the defensive end as well. And Kenny was mentioning the stop-start on the toe and how difficult that is. This isn't easy, and this is less than ideal, but this is the situation that they find themselves in. and you can't let this series get out of hand, and you can't go on the road down 0-2. So it's unfortunate that this is the spot that they're in. I worry more about beyond this series even. I think this is something that's probably going to linger into the Boston series. And it's just the reality that they have to deal with. This is a team trying to win a championship, and I don't know how you do that if you don't have Darius, an effective, I'm not even going to say healthy, an effective Darius Garland.
And Jared, you mentioned, Mike, that Jared Greenberg said they'd sit him for 2 weeks in the regular season. Well, Tuesday.
It's almost been 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, Tuesday will be 13 days since he last played.
Yep.
So, that's basically 2 weeks.
Right, that's what I thought when I read that.
Listen, I'm never going to say to a player, you should play. It's your body. I can't tell you how to feel. But I would think if Darius Garland can play at all, he's got to give it a shot Tuesday. In a perfect world, they would have won yesterday, and then you just keep sitting him until you lose a game. But because they lost the first game, and obviously game 2 has now become huge, if there's any chance he can play, I think he's got to try to push through it. Hopefully he will.
Here's the question I would ask the doctor, and I think I already know the answer to this. We've all had a turf toe or toe-related injury, and we know the pain is through the roof. It does come down to pain tolerance. But here's what I would want to know from the doctor. If we throw him out there and it's not completely healed, explain to me the risk of him either re-injuring it and resetting the clock to day 1, or even more, suffering more of an injury,
right?
Where now it becomes a situation where you're going to lose him for a month. So I would want the doctors to explain all of that to me. Where are we in the healing process? Is it like a scab where it heals, and when you rip it off, you're back to day 1, but now it's going to heal quicker? I don't know. I have no idea, but I would want to know that from the doctor. But Jay, I agree with everything you said. I think they were erring on the side of caution and said, look, we just mowed through Miami.
Right.
We may not need him in game 1. Let's take a look and see what we look like without him.
Yeah.
And by the third quarter, when it was 60-48 or 80-68, I'm pretty sure at that point, if you were asked them, where are you thinking about whether or not you need Darius now? Yeah, we do need him. My biggest fear with him is it's almost like a finger injury to a pitcher. It's everything. It's the contact point.
Yeah.
You use it every single time you throw the ball, you're using that finger. It's the same thing. You mentioned the start and stop. Is there another position in all of basketball that has more stopping and starting than the point guard?
No.
That's it. And so, it's like if somebody tells you on your race car that your brake pads are bad. Well, that could be an issue. So you got to play him. You got to see what it looks like. And then you reassess as the game is going on. If at halftime he says, I can't go, I think I've done something, then you sit him. But I think back, the first thing that comes to mind is all of the series, big series, in recent sports memory, where Cleveland, I think a lot of the Indians, when they went into a series where they're decimated, their starting staff is decimated, 16, 17. Also NBA series with the Cavs, where, God, what would it look like if we were at full strength? And I know injuries are a part of it. I get that. But a big part of this whole game that we play of competitive athletics, a big part of it is luck.
Yes.
Oh, of course.
Can you stay healthy?
Huge.
Mike said it's a battle of attrition. It is. We're only on game 5. We've got 4 guys on the injury report. And not just 4 guys, 4 guys.
Yeah.
And that's, sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you don't.
Part of the reason that this Darius injury situation is so unfortunate is if you go back to when it happened against Miami, it was game 2. Mm-hmm. That was the game in Cleveland where they had that historic second quarter. And then they let Miami kind of sneak back into it. And the only reason Darius was even in at the end of the game was that Cleveland had allowed Miami to make it a contest to
That's
where
right.
those guys actually were in
right.
the game very late. Now, obviously, that happens. It's basketball. Teams are going to go on runs. I'm not saying
But that game should have been put to bed.
That game should have been over 12 minutes before Darius was even at a position to be in the game in the fourth quarter. Now, he had already heard it before in the regular season. He had re-aggravated it. But even with the Cavs, and how many times did we talk about how we loved Kenny Atkinson load managing, not playing any starter too much. Darius was playing a career low 31 minutes. You can do all the right things.
And still have bad luck.
You can't prevent everything.
Right.
It's a contact sport. It is a physical sport. It takes one bad step, one freak incident or accident to get hurt when it matters most after preserving your body for 6 months in the regular season. And it's just, incredibly unfortunate. It's not a death sentence, but it's incredibly unfortunate that one game into the second round of the playoffs, the Cavs are looking at a hindered Darius. And I wasn't there last night, but from all reports, Donovan, DeAndre, and Evan are all dealing with some injuries for Game 2 now.
Yeah.
I think you play. It's the playoffs, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Jay, you mentioned that little breakdown I did earlier. You guys want to see it real quick?
I think we're ahead of schedule.
We are. So this is focusing on how Cleveland got caught up allowing so many open looks from three yesterday.
Okay.
A lot of it is a testament to what Indiana did, but there were some simple communication breakdowns and simple defensive philosophies that Cleveland used against Miami that I just don't think work against Indiana. So I picked 4 plays from last night, did a little breakdown on the Telestrator this morning. So here it is. I'm going to do a read first, then we'll play that real quick. Let me do a FanDuel read just to get these in. But this breakdown is brought to us by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live during the game with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you're new to FanDuel, right now is the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com/UCSS and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. It's about 6 minutes to break down. Here it is, looking at some of the threes the Cavs gave up, how it can be fixed for Game 2, and why the Cavs better do it, or it could be an uncomfortable conversation we're having on Wednesday morning. Steve? Game 1 did not go as the Cleveland Cavaliers planned. Give Indiana a lot of credit. They made a ton of open shots, and they generated even more good looks throughout the contest. Part of the reason, the Cavs have a tendency to overhelp. But last night, they didn't communicate nearly well enough defensively to limit some of those opportunities for Indiana. In Game 2, that's going to have to change. I found a few examples in Game 1 that shows the breakdown in communication, and we'll talk about how you can fix it before Tuesday night. Let's look at this first play here, Ant. The Cavaliers are in a relatively good defensive position to start here. And on this play, it's either a lack of communication between Max Strus and Isaac Okoro or a tendency to overhelp in a situation the Cavs did not need to. So on this play, Jarace Walker is going to drive middle. Hunter and Strus are going to trade that off. And when the ball gets kicked back to Tyrese Halliburton here, he's sizing up Jared Allen one-on-one. You can see it right here, which leaves Max Strus and Isaac Okoro to guard Aaron Nesmith and Jarace Walker. Walker's going to cut down the paint here and kind of circle out to the corner. One of the two Cavaliers has to follow Jarace Walker. The other one has to stay on Aaron Nesmith. But when I let this play through, watch what happens. You're going to see both Cavs follow Jarace Walker in some capacity, leaving Aaron Nesmith wide open for three. So what happened there? When Walker drives to the paint and kicks to Halliburton, and Halliburton starts to size up Jared Allen, Okoro and Strus either don't communicate, hey, I got Walker, you stay high. I got Cutter, you stay high. Or, because they're so worried about the Halliburton drive, Strus knows he has Nesmith, but decides to get 2 feet in the paint and hang out in this area to force Halliburton to be a passer. That was their defensive strategy against Miami, specifically Tyler Hero. And against Tyler Hero, it worked. They said anyone but you can beat us offensively. Against Indiana, it's hard to overhelp, especially against Halliburton, because he's a pass-first caliber player. And as you can see here, once that drive happens, look where Strus is. His head's on a swivel. He's trying to find Jarace Walker. I believe it was a miscommunication. Him and Okoro didn't communicate who had Walker, who had Nesmith. And at this point, when the pass is being made, Strus has 2 feet in the paint, and that's about 8.5 feet between Strus and Nesmith. In today's day and age, the way Indiana shot in Game 1, that is way too easy, way too uncontested of a look to give up on a consistent basis. On this next play, similar situation, different guys at play here. The Pacers going to find Tyrese Halliburton on the top of the key. He's going to attack Ty Jerome, and as he drives right, DeAndre Hunter steps up to help. His man, Benedict Mathurin, is going to slide to the corner. Halliburton's going to see the help, make the pass to the corner. Dean Wade's going to come out to contest, and it's a decent contest. But once again, the way Indiana shot in Game 1, it didn't matter if the Cavs had a hand up or not. They were knocking down triples. My question on this play, it wasn't a lack of communication. It's did the Cavs really need to help to that level? When Halliburton gets a chance to attack Ty Jerome here, he's going to turn the corner to his right hand. As he turns, Imagine Hunter doesn't help. So imagine Hunter and Matherin, they're going to be both in the corner for the sake of this. Halliburton's trying to drive to the lane with Dean Wade in the paint, Andrew Nembhard in the paint, Pascal Siakam in the paint, and the reigning defensive player of the year, Evan Mobley, in the paint. Do they really have to help? Does DeAndre Hunter really have to step up to cut off this driving lane? I'm not so sure. I think that's a difficult enough angle and enough congestion in the paint that the Cavs in that situation would be better playing it straight up, having Hunter stick to his man, and not giving up any semblance of an open three. However, they did help. They overhelped, in my opinion. And although it's a decent closeout from Dean Wade, hand up, chopped his feet, that is not an uncontested look. Indiana shot the lights out of the ball, and that ends up in 3 points. Next clip. This one I am most positive was a lack of communication. The Pacers set up this high ball screen here. It immediately generates the switch. So Jared Allen is now on Tyrese Halliburton. Donovan Mitchell is on Miles Turner. But the key on this play, watch DeAndre Hunter. The score is 107-104. Cavs are down 3 with 4 minutes and 42 seconds to play. As I let this play through, watch Hunter communicate, try and point, shout to Donovan Mitchell, I got roller, you get my guy. I'm bigger, I'll get the big, you rotate over, and you eventually get Nembhard. But once again, watch DeAndre Hunter as this plays through. He's pointing, he's yelling, he's doing everything he can to get Donovan's attention. Either Donovan doesn't hear it or Donovan doesn't listen. But the result is a wide open three for Andrew Nembhard in a clutch situation. When this play starts, they get the switch. The Cavs are in decent position here. The issue is the execution. As he points, if Donovan gets over, it's a much tougher pass here for Tyrese Halliburton. If they want to feed Miles Turner in the post here on the roll, you have a 6'8" DeAndre Hunter with long arms ready to deter the pass, can at least provide some resistance. Instead, it's either a lack of proper communication or a lack of execution. It looks like DeAndre Hunter is communicating to Donovan Mitchell. For some reason, Donovan doesn't respond properly, and it leads to a wide open three for Andrew Nembhard. Just simply not good enough. And last clip here. You got to give Indiana some credit. They're a really tough team to defend, especially when they have 5 guys on the court at any given time that can create off the dribble, can make threes, and force you into rotations. On this particular play, the Cavs get caught in a slight bit of miscommunication. Evan Mobley's in perfect help position. His man is in the corner, but he also has to help on Nembhard here because Max Strus hadn't fully recovered yet. Siakam finds Miles Turner in the corner. It's an undisciplined closeout from Evan Mobley. It's the one knock on this defensive play. Don't leave your feet. You don't have to jump there. We saw Dean Wade earlier chop his feet, get a hand up. That's the proper way to close out. Instead, he jumps, turns it into a 5-on-4. Miles Turner, the Pacers center, then drives the lane, forces Jared Allen to come down, kicks it to Siakam, which forces Donovan to recover. Siakam's going to make another great pass from here to the corner without even landing, and that means Jared Allen, who you can see in this position, is now going to have to sprint out to the corner to help. It's just great offense, and great offense beats good defense. But when you have 5 guys on the court and you're shooting as well as Indiana did last night, it's extremely difficult to guard. Speaking of that hot shooting, the Pacers made 19 threes in Game 1. They did that just 5 times in 82 regular season games. The Cavs, on the other hand, made just 9 threes in Game 1. It was the only time all season they haven't made at least double-digit threes. But the big number to look at here is the uncontested shots. Indiana had 66 uncontested shots per NBA.com tracking data on just 83 field goal attempts. The Cavs, 49 uncontested attempts on 98 overall field goals. Not good enough. The Cavs are a better defensive team than we saw in Game 1. They have the tape. They know the adjustments that need to be made. The question is, will they do it on Tuesday night?
Well, that's the best 7 minutes of our show. I'm glad we put it in there.
Yeah. Mike does a great job with those
seriously,
breakdowns.
Mike, I'm not blowing your horn. No one else in this market is capable of doing that.
Thank you.
If you're a Cavs fan and you want to get into the weeds on the X's and O's and the execution and what is actually going on, this is the only place you're going to get that. That's really, really, really well done.
It's Mike,
really well done.
It's Mike or Bruce Drennan. Those are your only options. I'll tell you.
No, why you got to do that?
Bottom line, though, a lot of the open shots they got is communication breakdowns. It was really uncharacteristic for the Cavs, who had been
All right, we didn't get Dak Prescott yet. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
We'll be right back after this commercial timeout.
All right, let's woo. All right, here we go. Back on track. Our next topic is brought to us by Buckeye State Credit Union. If you're unfamiliar with them, let me introduce you to their financial friend you didn't know you needed until right now. Buckeye State Credit Union is a local brand offering a wide range of products from checking accounts to home equity loans of credit and auto loans. They have some of the lowest rates around and are committed to serving Northeast Ohio. The Cleveland location in Shaker Heights, but they have 5 brick-and-mortar locations across the state. Buckeye State Credit Union is here to help make your life easier. They make banking more convenient, always putting the customer first, so you leave feeling cared for, valued, and respected. Connect, simplify, and adapt. Those are the core values that make Buckeye State Credit Union the right choice for you. Head to buckeyecu.org for more information. Buckeye State Credit Union, your money simplified. We have a fun topic to end the show that has nothing to do with Cleveland. So we're going to get our last
game
Cleveland.
that you've come up with again?
It's not really a game.
Oh, okay.
It's we're just going to have a discussion to figure out a top 5. I couldn't put it in a specific order.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to discuss it with you guys. But before we do that, the Browns have had an undrafted free agent make the 53-man roster 2 years in a row. Ronnie Hickman 2 years ago. We had Javion Cohen, the offensive guard, last year. They have signed 11 undrafted free agents to at least come to camp. So I asked you guys, of the 11, who do you think has the best chance to make the actual 53-man roster, make it 3 years in a row? Jason, you were the first to respond, so I will give you first, or let you go first, to tell us who you think of all the rookies has the best chance to make the Browns 53-man roster.
Well, the one position where I think the Browns have done a nice job of scouting is in the secondary. Andrew Berry was a defensive back at Harvard. Kevin Stefanski played safety at Penn, so these are guys that know the position well. They've had luck with that with that spot in the past. So I went with Donovan McMillan from Pittsburgh. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on him. I just picked a guy that, while that's the spot that they've had a lot of success with in the past. McMillan had over 100 tackles at Pitt. Very productive player there. Started at Florida, and so I try to keep this relatively simple. Yeah, you could go receiver because I think I think we expected them to draft a receiver and they didn't. They need to get younger across the offensive line, so that's another spot where I think it's kind of obvious. I just went with McMillan because that's the hit rate that they've had in the past. They've done a pretty nice job of identifying defensive backs who can help and develop them. So give me McMillan. We're all throwing darts here at this one.
Yeah.
Bull, you picked the same guy. Why'd you
Well,
pick him?
I did, but I have a second guy because you told me. I answered this morning. Like I said, you asked me to be on the show a little while before, so I was like, all right. I looked at it and I said, well, the Browns only have one safety. First of all, including I forgot his name already. McMillan. The Browns only have 5 safeties right now on the roster, on their 90-man roster or whatever number they're at. And 4 of the 5, including McMillan, are undrafted guys over the last couple of years. Now, one of them is Ronnie Hickman, who's played. The 2 backups right now were undrafted last year. Grant Delpit's the only player on this team that's been drafted at safety. However, because Jason picked it, I want to be a little different. Mike, put up the list again.
Oh, you're different, all right.
In a great way. Unafraid, baby. Let's go. Skip to the next page because I'm going with this guy, the long snapper, Brent Matisic.
You know what?
TCU.
I actually looked at that too.
Best chance to make the roster. They don't have a long snapper.
They cut Hewlett.
They let go with Hewlett. He's gone.
Bull, that's the right answer. That was my pick.
So Brent Matisic is a guy, he's battling for the long snapper role with some other undrafted guy from last year, I think, who's never really played much. So, yeah, he's got a good chance to make – he's got probably a 50-50 shot to make the roster. Nobody else has 50% chance, so there you go.
This is like trying to predict where the next lightning strike's going to be.
This is like trying to find the most underrated Browns player.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but this is even worse.
This is even harder.
None of us know anything about any of these guys.
No.
Can we put up the list again? I think we may have misspelled my guy's name.
Did I? He's not
knowing who's making these lists, I'm not a surprise.
You got him as Gartanian. No, go back.
I may have totally missed him.
Yeah, no, you've got him as
it's a D.
D'Artagnan
It's D.
Tinsley?
D'Artagnan. I made a bio.
It's
Steve,
D'Artagnan.
259, please.
So why did I go with D'Artagnan Tinsley? I like that name.
Cool name.
I like that name a lot. Like, that's one of those names that he might be the only guy in the United States of America named D'Artagnan.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe there's more. I've never heard of them. He plays the offensive line. I think that's an area where the Browns could probably, they didn't draft anybody there, and they need someone.
Get younger. They've got to get younger there.
They've got to get younger at the offensive line, so I focused in on, it's going to be an offensive lineman that makes this team as an undrafted free agent. And I loved the name, really jumped out at me, kind of rolls off the tongue. Sounds like an NFL player, doesn't it? D'Artagnan Tinsley.
Speaking of good names, we talked about a couple last week, but there was a guy who got called up for the Mets yesterday and then got sent right back down after the game. But his first name is Blade.
Oh, wow. What position?
Pitcher.
Oh, that's great. Blade.
Baseball.
Is that his real name?
I don't know.
Or a nickname?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
You know, when we're talking about undrafted guys and everything, I sent a clip to our group chat from Eric DeCosta, the Ravens GM. It was late Friday night. I don't know if anyone actually watched it or not.
That was fascinating.
I found it really fascinating. Eric DeCosta, the Ravens GM, was doing a podcast where he talked about, you never really know. Like, he basically admitted, we don't know either. Like, the number 1 pick versus the 44th pick. We don't know. So the more bites at the apple that you get, the better.
So why you want to accumulate picks.
So he was an advocate of the Brown strategy. Could we play that?
Do you remember who? I'll find it. Yeah,
it was in our group chat from Friday night. If that helps at all,
who,
it was like
who produced it? What was it? Was it on?
I never. Yeah, it was a podcast. I didn't recognize the podcast. It might have been Ravens. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he was just talking about and I likened it to the Brown strategy of trading down and accumulating more picks, and everyone kills them for it. And it's the analytics thing to do. Well, there's a high functioning team that believes in it
gets
as well.
Gets the draft right more than anyone.
They get it right. Yeah.
To be fair, Jason, people kill them for it because they always F up the pick.
Yes.
If they had not always F'd up the picks, we wouldn't kill them for it.
And that's the point I'm making is it's not the philosophy that's flawed. It's the outcome, I guess, or the fact that they don't hit on these picks. But I just found it really fascinating of a really high functioning team that's won Super Bowls saying, yeah, man, the draft is a total crapshoot.
Yeah.
We don't know either.
Yeah.
And
sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
But the more swings you get, the better.
The more bingo cards you have in the hall, the better chance you are of winning bingo.
Yeah.
And so I like that philosophy. I do. And you're right, Bull. The Browns have subscribed to that philosophy.
Yeah.
They have been a pick accumulator.
Yeah.
They've also been a pick annihilator. Because
that's well said. Yeah.
I knew something was coming, so I didn't take a sip.
Yeah,
because I knew it was coming.
They gather them and then they waste.
And so that's why fans are frustrated by a trade down at this point because it's like, well, okay, you keep doing that, but then you keep screwing up the picks.
Yeah, just get them right.
Yeah,
and that's what the Ravens do.
I had the soundbite if we want to hear it.
Yeah,
it's from the Ravens Lounge, which is a Raven.
Yeah, how long is it?
It's from the 2 minutes.
Yeah,
2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Heck yeah.
And Thor, our guy who came on the show pre-draft, was the one who tweeted this out. But this is from the Ravens Lounge podcast, which is the Ravens team podcast. Similar to what Andrew Siciliano does for the Browns.
Yep.
This is the Ravens version of that. Steve, take tag word. Let's hear Eric DeCosta.
For me, an important study called The Loser's Curse by Richard Thaler, who's an economist, and Cade Massey, who's a professor at Penn now. And the idea of it basically is that teams simply don't do any better drafting than anyone else. You're all going to be about the same, right? So the idea that you're going to trade up, and basically that the draft is inherently sort of a luck-driven process. Now, I don't believe that, but there is an element of luck involved. So if you think about that and if you accept that premise, then you're trading up for a player that you think is better than anyone else, right? And you think that team's going to draft him.
Right.
But most of the time, they're not going to draft that player. And so what we've seen over the years is that player is probably going to fall to you. Could he be selected? Yes, but there's no guarantees that player is going to be better than the player that you end up getting.
Yeah.
So they call it the loser's curse because the team at the top, it's like, oh, he's got the first pick in the draft. Well, you know what? The player that they select, we've seen this many times. There's no guarantees that player is going to be better than the player that gets selected at 25 or 30 in the first round. And so all things being equal, I know I'm doing a lot of talking about this, but it's a passion of mine. All things being equal, right? The fact that no one really knows who's going to be better than anyone else, the only rational approach is to get more at-bats, is to pick more. And so what we've seen over the last 5 years, but especially this year, everyone seems to be drafting players, the same players. So it's like going to a restaurant with 20 of your best friends, and there's 20 things on the menu, but all 20 of you are ordering one of the same 3 entrees, right? You're all getting the steak and you're all getting the pasta. Maybe a few guys are getting the crab cakes, but nobody's going after the vegetarian option, right? And nobody's getting the lamb. Everybody's eating the same things. That's kind of what the draft has become in some ways. And I don't know if that's because of the incredible media coverage, all the so-called draft experts, right? All the people that are putting up mock drafts and consensus boards and things like that. But for me, the idea of having more picks means I have the chance of getting more players. For me,
the interesting thing about that, this year they had in the first 5 rounds, the Ravens had 5 picks. In round 6, they had 5 picks.
Yeah, but how often did 6-round picks pan out?
That's what I was just going to say. What I was just going to say was they must have made the calculation that there's going to be a lot of guys available in rounds 6 and 7 that we would want. So in other words, like even though we kept looking at this draft class saying it's a terrible quarterback draft class, well, maybe their personnel people said, you know, this really is a bad quarterback class, but we've got more running backs and linebackers rated as draftable grades than in any year in the past 10.
Yeah, sure.
I also think it was an anomaly with the amount of picks that they had late. I think it was some compensatory picks. I don't
know how they got them all. I just know they had 5.
It was they had 3 compensatory of those 6.
I had to do some stuff with the Justin Tucker thing at the Combine, and I remember digging on them a little bit, and they drafted a kicker. I think this is the end of Tucker in Baltimore. And the one thing that was pointed out to me was how many picks that they had this year later in the draft. I don't know that I want to draw the conclusion to what he said to this draft specifically.
Right, yeah.
Just in general, just the thought process of just keep swinging.
Right,
I thought it was fascinating for an NFL GM to say, yeah, we don't know either.
Yeah, I like the honesty. Well, it's so obvious based on what's actually happened.
And how, like, I would be interested.
I don't buy the team that some teams don't draft better than others. That's just not true.
And he said, like, he pushed back on that a little bit too.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
But he really didn't like the idea of trading up, which is, I'd be curious now to go back and look and see. I don't recall Baltimore moving up.
Didn't they move up to get Lamar?
Did they?
They did.
There you go. That worked out for them.
That doesn't mean
they may not. That might not have been their plan, but when he slipped and slipped and slipped, they said, "Wow, he's still there. Let's get him."
Yeah.
They could, but they might have 10 trade downs for every 1 trade up.
I mean, especially at that position.
Right. Sure. Then it's a little bit of a difference.
The other thing too with the Ravens, you're talking about a team that has very few slots to fill every year. The Ravens draft as well as anybody. I firmly believe that.
No, Jay, I have a little proof of that real quick.
Okay.
I was just looking up for 6-round picks. That was too far down to get any consistency.
Right.
Since 2017, they've had at least 2 third-round picks in every draft except last year.
Wow.
You ready to hear the hit rate on these third-round picks?
I'd love to hear it because I know ours is horrible.
From 2017. In 2017, it took Tim Williams and Chris Wormley. Wormley turned out to be a longtime player. Williams never panned out. 2018, Mark Andrews, Orlando Brown Jr.
That's pretty good.
Both great picks.
Holy cow.
2019.
In the 3rd round.
Yep.
We've got Anthony Schwartz and David Bell.
Yeah.
2019, Miles Boykin and Jalen Ferguson. Boykin's done in his career. Ferguson never really panned out.
They're both busts. Those were not good picks.
2020, 4 third-round picks.
Wow.
Tyree Phillips, Malik Harrison, Devin Duvernay, and Justin now nominee Matabuke. Matabuke got paid big bucks this past offseason.
I don't know about the rest of those guys.
Duvernay's been an all-pro return guy.
Yeah,
he's pretty good.
I mean,
returns.
He's contributed.
And Tyree Phillips is still with them as their swing tackle.
That's amazing. And that was what, 2020?
2020.
That was COVID year.
2021, Ben Cleveland, who just got paid. They didn't re-sign him, but he got paid in Denver. And Brandon Stevens, who's still with them as a defensive secondary.
And when you go, before you continue, Mike, you also get more picks because the more good players you have to let some of them go, and that's how you get the compensatory picks.
That's right.
Go ahead, Mike.
And then the last 3 years, it's too early to tell on any of these guys, but Travis Jones, Trent Simpson, who started last year, and Adisa Isaac, a defensive lineman who had 4 sacks last year.
Yeah, we don't know. Early. That's
Too
some
early
production,
to
though.
tell.
Overall,
That's
that one draft
pick.
with Andrews and Orlando Brown.
That's incredible.
Well, I mean, look what they did in their first draft as the Baltimore Ravens.
Right.
When it would have been the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Of course, they never would have made those picks if they had stayed in Cleveland. But to me, what that really underscores is I do push back on that notion that we all draft the same. That's ridiculous. No, you don't. I think the Ravens are as good at the draft as any team.
Sure.
They're at the top of the talent cycle. They never. When do they cycle through? They don't.
Almost never.
Almost never.
Because they hit on mid-round picks.
They hit on the mid-round picks. And here's the other thing. So the holes that they have, because they're winning 11 games every year, the holes that they have are maybe special teams and depth. And when your holes are special teams and depth, you can tailor those picks a lot easier than you can franchise quarterback.
Sure, and also the better you are, the more you could bring along slowly your later picks. You don't have to rush them and play them before they're ready, because it's like, well, we drafted this linebacker, but he doesn't need to play much because we don't need him. But in 3 years, he's got to be ready to go. So 2 years, and there's no pressure to play him, and we got all these guys, and they're learning from talented players.
And the other thing that we didn't mention, but is obviously true, winning culture.
Yeah,
these guys are coming into a culture, and they're learning how to be a pro at the best place to learn how to be a pro.
That's right.
Where in Cleveland, when they come in, they may be learning how to be a pro at the worst place to learn how to be a pro.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a fascinating study. I'm glad that we played it. I want to throw one other name out. He's not currently on the Browns roster, but his name is Luke Floria. Okay. He's a wide receiver from Kent, and the reason I bring him up is I know that the Browns are talking to him, and I believe he has contract offers from the Browns and the Steelers. He had a really nice career at Kent. Not going to compare him to Julian Edelman here, but hear me out.
Let me guess, he's white?
He's a white, small, undersized receiver. And obviously, Edelman was the quarterback at Kent and became, with Tom Brady, one hell of an NFL weapon. I'm only familiar with this kid partly because we do cover Kent upstairs very, very superficially. I look at their box scores every week. They were 0-13. And every week I'd look at their box score, and he was the only bright spot. He was the only player on that team. And I think he averaged 16 yards a catch, 7 touchdowns, and I in a very top-to-bottom challenged offense. But his sister was the most highly decorated female track and field star in the history of Ohio track and field. She won 4 individual state championships her senior year. My son trained her at Spire when he was training for the Olympics. He's now her coach at Rutgers. Oh, cool. She's already qualified for it's an unbelievably athletic family from Cleveland.
Yeah.
They're Menor. They all went to Menor High School.
How come he hasn't signed?
I think this is just a guess.
Yeah.
Corey had told me he's got offers from Pittsburgh and Cleveland. I think he's probably trying to see, will there be more offers and what's the best offer? That's what these guys do when they're undrafted. To me, it seems like a no-brainer that he would want to sign in Cleveland. He's from Menor.
Yeah.
I don't know this for sure, but I would imagine growing up here he is a Browns fan. Maybe he is a Steelers fan. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he does have contract offers from both. And if he does come onto this roster, you always say every year, fans are always clamoring for the white wide receiver to make the roster.
100%. He'll be a fan
might end
favorite.
up being that guy. So remember the name, Luke Floria.
Give him a shot. Let's go.
Give him a shot.
All right, I got one last topic today I want to get to, and it's brought to us by Epicor. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build, and practicing every detail to get the best results. But no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes getting the win easier. At Epicor, the all-stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. Epicor ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier. From small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with global visions, we'll equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier finds the lane. Discover your success at easierwithepicor.com. That is easierwithepicor.com. So over the weekend, the Clippers lost a Game 7 to the Denver Nuggets. And in a group chat with my friends back home, we got into the heated debate of...
This is your home now, Mike.
With my friends from college and where I grew up.
You still call New York home?
Used to
I
call
don't.
home.
You don't?
I stopped doing that recently.
Okay.
My wife
Recently,
and I,
Well,
after
it took you
15
10
years,
years.
he's been
well,
here
no,
2.
yeah, I'm sort of saying that's what made me think of it because my wife and I, sometime in the last couple of years, I can't remember exactly when it was, but we had this discussion that we don't call New York home anymore.
No, that's good.
This is
You
my
got
home.
another 8 years,
Yeah.
Mike.
Well, either way, friends from it could have been here.
Yeah.
Honestly, it doesn't really make a difference. With a group chat of
Yeah.
close friends of mine, we got into a heated debate of who is the current number one guy on the he can't win the big one debate. So we
There's a
came up. These were
debate
what'd you say?
How is there a debate? It's James Harden. Where's the debate?
Well, Harden was on the list, but
I
we
don't
have a
think
couple
there's a debate
others.
either.
Couple others that we threw out there.
They gave that man an MVP.
I know they did.
I didn't vote
No,
for him.
but they did.
I never voted for him.
So if you think Harden's won, that's fine. I'm going to throw out the 6 names that we came up with. If there's more, we could add to it. Rory McIlroy was on there until recently. He's been out
All
taken off.
sports.
Yeah.
I think
All
it's
sports.
just
No,
basketball.
everything.
No, all sports. And this includes
Rory
some coaches.
had won the big one. He hadn't won the Masters.
But he had choked in 2 Masters in
I
the
know,
last
but
10 years.
see, when you say the big one, to me in golf, it's the majors.
Yes.
And
Well-
there are guys that are great golfers that have yet to win a major, and I would put them on the list. But Rory had proven to be quite clutch in some other majors, and those are big ones.
What I found out in this group chat debate was everyone has their own definition of
Yeah, that's
the
true.
big one. So these were the 6 names that we thought in some order should be in the top 5, and then we have to weasel out the 5th. But if you have any more to add, please feel free to add. In no particular order, Harden, Embiid, Aaron Judge,
Judge was on
Lamar
mine.
Jackson,
Absurd.
Kyle Shanahan, and James Franklin.
Kyle Shanahan's a good
How do you
he's
have a
coach.
baseball player on the list? One baseball player doesn't have enough control of that. That's not fair.
Well,
Let me
no,
ask you a
it's,
question.
you,
Hold
wait,
on, no, no,
Look
hold
at
on,
his
because Mike
postseason
Mike
numbers.
Trout-
Wait, let me counter that.
Okay.
Bull, yes or no question. Has Aaron Judge won the big one?
No,
No.
definitively
Then he's
not.
on the list.
And Mike Trout either.
Well,
And it's
neither-
Mike Trout.
And I would
Great-
even put Mike Trout ahead of Aaron Judge because Aaron Judge has had moments in the postseason.
Judge's postseason numbers
Mike
are terrible.
Trout can't get to the postseason.
I
And I
You
know what
can't-
you're saying. You're one of 9, or if you count the starting pitchers,
how much?
14.
But have you done your role? And Aaron Judge hasn't. Not in the
well,
postseason.
he did against the Guardians last
he
year.
did in certain series, but not in the Dodgers
Look at-
series.
What did he do in the Dodger series last year, Judge?
Well, wasn't it Stanton that had the big series?
And it's just, I just don't think it's a fair comparison because the greatest baseball players have, every great baseball player has had a bad series in the playoffs.
Joe DiMaggio, or excuse me, Ted Williams was the greatest hitter of our time.
Right.
Couldn't get to the World
Right.
Series because of the
I
Yankees.
mean, that's crazy.
Aaron Judge in the playoff career is a 205 batting average.
yeah,
Bingo.
that stands out.
I
He
hear
hit
you,
222 in the World Series, Bull.
How many home runs though?
In the World Series?
Yeah.
1 home run, 3 RBIs.
Yeah, he belongs on the list.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
he does belong on the
If he
list.
was
I
hitting
would put-
400
I would
with 6
actually-
homers, I wouldn't put him on
I
the
would
list.
actually put Mike Trout ahead of that because remember, for a portion
But
of Mike Trout's career,
Yeah.
he was also playing with Albert Pujols.
I know, but he
and then he
and
was playing
Shohei.
with Shohei Ohtani.
Wait, but Pujols was mostly shot with the Angels after the first year or two.
Mostly, yes, but he was still a
But
really good
Trout,
player.
But see, I wouldn't put Trout on the list at all because he never even played in the
Agreed.
playoffs. That's
And
not that's not his fault.
No, but that's part of it. Like, take your team to the playoffs,
but
bro.
you can't you can't just take your team to the playoffs in baseball. It doesn't matter how good you
It
are.
happens.
No,
I would
one
argue
guy.
there are Indians teams and Guardians teams that have made the playoffs because Jose Ramirez was on the team, and if he wasn't, they wouldn't have.
I don't know about
I
that.
don't. I mean that.
He had
I don't know,
Lindor in
man.
16. He had
The
Kluber.
Angels never had any pitching.
Yeah.
I mean, they just.
Trout, I would not put Trout on the
Yeah,
list.
I'm
I
gonna
would
hold Trout.
absolutely
I
put
still
Judge on
don't
the
think
list.
there's any
How
way.
many-
Here's the difference. Again, in baseball, you can have a great series in your team. You know, like.
Yeah.
And every great baseball player has had at least one bad playoff series.
Sure,
Which
but-
is not the case in basketball.
But Judge's career has been a bad postseason series.
But he's also still young.
well for right
Well,
now. He hasn't
I
done
mean,
He's
it.
in the
old
prime
fast.
of his career.
Aaron Judge is 33.
Yeah.
I appreciate you calling
33?
someone
Is he
33 still young.
33?
So
No,
I agree with
he's
you.
getting older. He's older than you think.
But he's still he's the best player in baseball this year.
He's hitting fourth.
Yeah,
What,
yeah, he's
430?
been bad in the playoffs. I give you that, but I still wouldn't put him on the list.
I would.
But fine. My pick of the guys you listed, I don't know how it's a case for anybody but Harden.
Oh, Harden's number one on my list.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to put anybody else over him.
But I also think he's just not like some guys. It's bad luck or whatever. I've never liked him as a competitor. I would never want to build my team around him.
No.
Mike Trout has an .083 postseason batting average.
But how many games has he played? Not
One
a lot,
hit.
right?
Well, this is part of my why I put him on this list.
Yeah.
With a hit, a homer, an RBI, and a run score in 3 games.
That's it.
So he was probably 1 for 12, 1 for
He made the
13.
playoffs once, the Angels.
Now, to me, who was the juggernaut in the AL West that kept the Angels with Pujols and Trout and Shohei out of the playoffs for all these years?
Yeah, but
He made 1 playoff series.
But what more could Mike Trout have done those years?
It's a good question. It's a fair question. But my God, he had 2 of the other great players in the game alongside of him.
I know, but he just...
I mean, I guess it's more an indictment on the Angels front office.
It's an indictment on the Angels more than it's an indictment on Trout. But who are the other guys, Mike? Embiid, he's a bum. I mean...
We had the 6 names we were discussing.
Yeah.
Lamar, Judge, Shanahan, James Franklin, who can't beat any good teams.
Yeah.
James Harden, and Embiid.
I mean,
Josh Allen, you got to put him on
Josh
that
Allen,
list.
that's a good one.
Yeah, Josh Allen is a good one.
So these are the names. If we were to order them, and you could add any more do you want, would Harden be number 1 for all of us? We're gonna make the top 5
question?
now.
Give me the exact question again.
We are going to make the list of 1 through 5.
Put Ricky Fowler on there, too.
Okay, Ricky Fowler.
I know you guys don't love golf,
Yeah, I
but
don't
like
know
Ricky
anything
Fowler's had a great career. He's a great golfer. He hasn't won a major.
Can't win the big one. I mean...
Did Greg Norman ever win? He
Greg,
did, right?
Greg won eventually, but I think Greg always struggled at the Masters.
Yeah, I
He had
think
some
I think he's
epic
got a
meltdowns.
majors.
I think
he's won a
listen,
major.
you could put every quarterback in the NFL, not named Hurts and Mahomes on that list
Can
right
Joe
now.
Burrow win the big one? It's a question a lot of people are asking.
Well, he's only, 3 years into his career?
But, I mean, no, more than that, but Lamar and
4.
Josh Allen haven't played that long either. I mean, they've only played, 1 more year than Burrow, 2? So, I don't.
Michael Jordan put a lot of guys on the list that can't win the big one.
Yeah.
LeBron put a lot of guys on the list that can't win the. Patrick Mahomes has put a lot of guys on.
you're
A
right.
lot of it is the era that you're.
That's right.
And
I think James Harden is won by a lot.
I agree.
Okay, so we're
Clyde
gonna,
Drexler was on that list,
we're
right?
going to lock in the UCSS top 5. So number 1,
Okay.
James Harden. We
I would
all agree.
I would put Judge too on that
Oh,
list.
my
I
God.
would. His postseason numbers are dreadful.
Yeah.
They're he's not doing his job in the postseason. How can you argue that? For as great of a regular season player as he is, and he's the best in the game, his postseason numbers are atrocious.
Yeah, he's my number 2. I'm with you so far. Harden, and I'm putting. Are you putting Judge number 2?
Yeah.
Well, hold on. I want to hear both counter before
It's
we
just
get
that yes, he's been bad in the playoffs, but there are so many great. It's common for a great baseball player to be bad over stretches of time. It's just part of the sport. That doesn't happen in basketball.
Yeah, well, if it's every October, that's telling.
If it's fair to put Judge on it, and don't strike me down with lightning here, is it fair to put Hosey on it too?
If Hosey played in a bigger market, he would get destroyed for his
Greg
playoff.
Maddox wasn't a great postseason pitcher, if I remember correctly.
he was in 95.
But won it.
He did.
But he won
That's
it.
true.
So you can't put him on.
Yeah,
By
yeah.
the way, Greg Norman won the Open Championship twice.
Okay.
So let's put. I mean, I don't know. I'm not advocating
So we got 1 and
putting
2
Manny
locked
on the
in.
list.
Majority vote, Harden 1, Aaron Judge 2. Now we're at the number 3.
I mean, we're talking. See, the Harden won an MVP. Judge has won MVPs. So there's like Hosey's never won an MVP. So there's
Lamar's won 2 MVPs.
Lamar.
Yeah,
Has he won 2 or is it 1?
One.
Burrow's won one.
No,
right?
wait, he did win 2.
No,
He won
Burrow's
last
not
year,
won the
too.
Burrow
MVP.
didn't win? I thought he
Lamar's
won
won the
one.
MVP. Burrow's at least been to the championship, which
It's fair to put Lamar on that
the
list.
Bills and Ravens have not.
He's got 2 MVPs.
Yeah, I wouldn't put Burrow on there. Well, I don't know. I
Not
mean, he hasn't
yet.
won it, but
Not
he did.
yet. It's only been 4 years.
But he did make it to a Super Bowl.
And he's been injury-riddled.
Lamar, of those 3 quarterbacks, Lamar has played the worst in the playoffs of those 3 quarterbacks.
Oh, but you just
by a
got
lot.
done saying that doesn't matter about Aaron Judge.
I did not say it doesn't. And you're comparing different sports.
Yes,
again.
I am. I'm
Well,
comparing
we have to.
elite athletes.
This isn't
And
apples to apples.
It's more of an indictment in the NBA because
There's only 5.
and plus great players almost never have bad series in the NBA. It's very rare.
You're
And
talking NFL, and I said baseball.
right. In football, it happens sometimes, not a ton. It's more in the middle, whereas baseball, it happens all
If
the
it
time.
was one series for Aaron Judge, I'd be with you. It's not. There's a
Been lot of
long
series.
track record
Yeah.
of failure with
and
him.
a lot of strikeouts and a lot of big moment failures. One of the things that I'm watching, I think I'm on game 3 right now
Yeah.
of that, and please watch it and let me know what you think of it. This Apple Plus World. They're movies each game,
right?
And you kind of forget, over the off season some of the big moments, but man, he's had some really big moment letdowns.
Yeah,
where this is what you want as a Yankee fan. We're a run down. It's in the 8th inning. We got 2 men on. Here he is. Strikeout.
What is his career OPS in the postseason, Mike? Judge?
Aaron Judge, career postseason OPS is career 768.
That's not terrible.
It's not awful.
Jason?
No, it's
Just
not.
the wise guy.
Number 2.
But he had, in his first postseason, in the wild card round, it's 1.217.
Oh, okay.
Second round, ALDS, 707. ALCS, 715.
You're seeing the trend.
World Series went up a little bit, 830.
He's got an 830 World Series OPS.
Pretty damn good.
That's all-star.
2.
That's pretty good.
He's 2.
So who's 3?
What's Jose Ramirez's career OPS?
We got 2 more minutes. Who's number 3?
I'll say Embiid.
Embiid's such a... I don't even think he's so bad I wouldn't even put him in this conversation. That's how little I think of Joel Embiid.
I'll tell you somebody else, I hate to say this because it's an open whole can of worms, but if the Cavs don't win this year, we could put Donovan Mitchell on that.
Donovan's never made a conference final.
Nope.
Who do we have to pick from? Franklin?
We have Ricky Fowler, Josh Allen, Embiid, James Franklin, Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, coaches, it's weird to have on the
Franklin,
list.
man, what is he, like 1-11 against ranked teams or something insane like that? Top 5 teams.
Not good at all.
Isn't there a great hockey player? I don't know hockey well enough that always loses.
He made the championship last year, lost in Game 7.
Okay.
But you got. We're talking about guys
I don't know it
to
well
win
enough.
the title.
I didn't know well enough to add him in.
No, Connor McDavid is one of the elite players in the sport.
Mike, what's Jose Ramirez's career OPS in the playoffs?
768.
About the same as Judge.
Yeah.
Very similar.
All right, we got super chats. We're going to leave. We got top 3 then.
Yeah.
That's good enough. We got a top
hard.
3.
I have to think about that more.
This is all, these were all active guys, right?
Yeah, just active.
Okay.
Chris
Did
Paul.
you say James Harden, Mike?
Clyde Drexler.
Karl Malone.
Karl Malone.
Yeah, James Harden
John
was the
Stockton.
prohibited
Was
favorite.
anybody arguing that Harden was not number 1?
I have a buddy who's a diehard Red Sox fan who was on the hill that Aaron Judge was number 1. And
Oh,
I have
really?
a buddy who's
He's
a Penn State
biased.
fan who was on the hill that James Franklin was number 1. But that's self-hatred more than anything else.
Yeah.
All right, super chats here. I don't know if I want to read this first one. It's kind of funny, but kind of messed up.
Is it? It's not like.
No, it's not. It's just a little dirty. We'll read it. It's Monday. Topo said, shout out to the Hall of Famer for the free swag and meats. Looking forward to seeing Joe Sausages on the show in the near future.
That's
not bad. That was nothing, Mike.
Well, I tweaked it a little bit.
All right, good.
Tweaked it a little bit.
Yeah.
Bobby G said, why does Kenny refuse to play Jalen Tyson over Okoro? The drop-off isn't that bad, and at least he can make an open shot and handle the ball.
Well,
I suggested that today, but in fairness, I think Kenny Atkinson is deserves the benefit of the doubt.
He's going to win Coach of the Year today.
Yeah.
That is
I don't
tonight.
like that they give these awards during the playoffs.
I agree.
It's stupid.
Salvatore the 216 says, I feel like the turning point in the third quarter was Wade's defensive impact. As soon as he came in, I wish Kenny ran more full court press like Indy does.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Ronaldo Archer says, Coke changed to New Coke because they lost the Pepsi Taste Challenge and wanted Coke to taste more like Pepsi. After a customer revolt,
That might be true.
they changed back and increased market share.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, that might actually. There might be some truth to that because Pepsi has always been the sweeter of the two.
Yeah.
And the new formula Coke was sweet.
When I was a kid, I would always drink Coke, not Pepsi. But then when I, started drinking diet soda, I like Diet Pepsi way better than
Oh, you
Diet
do?
Coke. Yes.
Always been a Coke guy. Always.
Next up is Double K Creative, who says, may sound crazy, and I know this is the playoffs, not the regular season, but if Darius can't go, I'd start Dean Wade. He was a much better as a starter in the regular season than he was coming off the bench.
Well, that's what this Dean Wade love. The guy does nothing on the floor.
We talked about that at length.
He's been a 0.
Next, Mike.
Not been a.
Last one
contributor.
comes from Evan419, who says, you have to add Durant to the list. Do it without joining a 73-win
won.
team, you coward.
Doesn't matter.
I
He
mean,
won.
technicality is that he won, so he can't be on the list.
Yeah.
But I do give him the distinction as being the biggest something in the history of pro sports. And you guys can probably figure out what that distinction is. Yeah. And I don't think anybody can argue that point.
Not a fan.
What he did to win his title, and the burner accounts, and it's just gross. The whole
not
thing.
A fan, but you can't put him on that list. It's not fair.
Coach of the year, is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Coach of the year tonight.
Coach of the year tonight, executive of the year tomorrow.
First Little League game of the year, final season. Nice. Let's go.
Nice.
Hopefully we get it in tonight.
I don't know.
It's not supposed to rain now. It's supposed to be foggy, though.
We got washed out Friday, and we got to try again tomorrow.
Although my probably my best player, definitely my best pitcher, is not playing tonight. So
hope for rain.
That's it. I got to have Aaron in the cleanup spot. Hopefully he uses this huge body to knock the ball out of the park.
Did you get him what's the bat? Torpedo? Did you get him a torpedo bat?
No torpedo bat.
Well, they use metal bats in Little League, right? So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you in overtime in about 2.5 minutes, right here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Peace.